The young man pants heavily, sweat dripping down his face as he struggles to catch his breath. He faces a towering beast with glowing eyes and sharp fangs, gripping his weapon tightly. He questions why God would grant him this skill, as the monstrous figure looms over him. A determined girl commands to activate exploration skills, pinpointing the threat at the 9 o'clock direction. The young man readies his bow, aiming with focus and resolve to understand the situation better. The group shares a moment of camaraderie, praising the young man as the best hunter in town. One invites Mug to join their party, but she refuses, having decided to join Dad's vigilante group instead. The young man politely thanks them and wonders if it's proper to respond after receiving his skill, while a castle looms in the distance. A narration explains that every adult in this world receives skills from God, ranging from swordsmanship to medical expertise and cooking. Some skills, however, come with drawbacks as off skills. The young man contemplates what skill Mug desires as the story unfolds. The young man reflects on his parents, admiring their kindness and strength as vigilantes competing for top rank in the city. He sees them as his ultimate goal and source of inspiration. Suddenly, a massive lizard man mutant attacks the city, causing destruction and chaos. The army also joins the assault, forcing the young man to confront the terrifying threat. In the midst of the attack, his mother shields him from falling debris, while his father and others rush to defend the city. Their sacrifice is clear. They fight to protect him and the people. Though his parents perish defeating the lizard man, the city embraces and supports the young man, helping him survive. He realizes he carries their legacy and the city's hopes, feeling as if he is two people combined. The young man declares his desire to protect the city, his eyes shining with determination, encouraged by those around him. He feels ready to become a full-fledged person today, embracing even the off-skills that come with being a Mug. With hope in his heart, he heads toward the temple where the adult ceremony will be held, believing dreams come true with new skills. Inside the grand temple, an elder solemnly addresses him, revealing the skills he received from the heavenly god. The young man's expression shifts to shock and disbelief as he realizes the cruel truth behind his new abilities. The young man faces terrifying monsters as a voice explains his new skill is the Decoy skill, an off-skill that constantly attracts monsters, making it the worst skill. He learns no one with it lives long, as monsters relentlessly target them. The weight of his fate sinks in, realizing skills are predetermined and unchangeable. The elder solemnly tells him his destiny is to bear this skill, even if it causes suffering, calling it a death sentence. The young man leaves the temple, overwhelmed and uncertain, wondering what to do next as the town bustles around him. He is confronted by a man who demands to know why he's packing his things onto a cart. The man offers a hunting shack in the mountains for him to live in, but the young man protests, recalling they've stayed there before. An older wizard approaches, revealing he's heard about the off-skill Decoy. He warns that from now on, monsters will be drawn to the young man, threatening the city as creatures from nearby mountains may attack. The wizard expresses sorrow at having to send away one of the few youths left in the city, leaving the young man in disbelief at his grim reality. He recalls what his parents said, a heavy realization settling in. The crowd around him turns hostile, shouting that he's dangerous and blaming him for any monster attacks. Voices demand he leave immediately, warning that his presence will bring more mutant lizard attacks. An older couple argues, fearful and overwhelmed by the risk. He feels the weight of everyone's rejection, their eyes filled with fear and anger, despite the pain. He forces himself to smile, accepting the harsh command to live for the city by never returning. Doubt and sorrow cloud his thoughts as he wonders how everything went so wrong. Alone with his cart, he reflects on his intentions to protect the city like his parents and repay everyone's kindness. His skill was meant to benefit the city, yet now it feels like a curse. Tears fall as he questions why he was given this skill and what he can do next. Suddenly, a massive dark kobold and its minions burst from the forest, roaring fiercely. He's shocked, realizing these creatures shouldn't be this far from their habitat. Panic rises as he wonders if the Decoy skill already lured them here, desperately searching for what to do next. He gazes down at the city he once vowed to protect, knowing if he falls here, the monsters will attack the city next. The armored wolf-like creatures roar, closing in fast. His fingers tighten around his weapon as memories of his parents, who gave their lives for the city, flash through his mind. He steels himself, whispering that he must run. Determined, he pulls back his bowstring, vowing he won't die here. His plan forms clearly. Using his Decoy skill, he will lead the monsters deep into the forest. With a burst of speed, he dashes into the trees, resolved never to return. He reaches the hunting shack, breathless and tense, realizing that if he has come this far, he must face whatever awaits inside. Suddenly, a massive wolf-like creature lunges at him with ferocious speed. The beast's claws slash through the air, narrowly missing him as he struggles to defend himself. Blood splatters as the fight intensifies, and he wonders if his efforts have been enough to hold the creature back. Gathering his resolve, he calls out to himself, urging himself to live. His hand grips a weapon tightly, smashing it into the ground with fierce determination. Despite knowing that dying here might protect the city, he refuses to give up. He charges forward, fighting the monstrous wolves with all his strength, driven by the memory of his parents' sacrifice and his desperate desire to survive. He slams his weapon down with fierce resolve, shouting that he will not forget everything that brought him here. His determination surges as he declares he is going to live, pushing back against the monstrous wolf with all his might. The fight intensifies as he crashes into the beast, shouting that he will not give up. He vows to build his own future and, with fierce conviction, swears to kill every one of the monsters standing in his way. A massive explosion erupts, shaking the ground and scattering debris everywhere. Amidst the chaos, a voice praises his determination, affirming his resolve with a cheerful encouragement. A young girl with horns and a bright smile steps forward, offering her help warmly. She calls him sweetie, promising to stand by his side in the battle ahead. The young man stares in disbelief, barely catching his breath as he notices a smiling girl with horns standing before him. He questions himself, stunned that a girl has appeared in this dangerous place. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupts nearby, sending debris flying as he demands to know what she is doing here. The girl calls out urgently for the young man to escape, warning him that if he stays, the girl will be dragged into danger. The young man hesitates, torn between protecting her and fighting off the approaching monstrous wolves. The girl prepares to unleash a powerful attack, the ground cracking beneath her as she braces herself. The young man watches in awe as the girl uses magic, her energy swirling around her while she confidently assures him she is fine. He wonders what kind of being she is as she faces the advancing wolves head-on. With fierce determination, she declares she won't allow the monsters to harm the young man. The girl unleashes a devastating wind attack, tearing through the monstrous wolves with incredible force. The young man watches in shock, unable to comprehend the overwhelming power she wields. His mind races as he questions what she truly is, overwhelmed by the chaos and her extraordinary abilities. The young man is blasted backward by a powerful explosion, his body thrown through the air as the girl watches in shock. She gasps, realizing something terrible has happened, and calls out to him with growing concern. The young man struggles to comprehend how he ended up in this dangerous situation. The girl rushes to his side, her face filled with worry as she cradles him. He groans weakly, barely able to respond, while she apologizes repeatedly, desperate to know if he is all right. Confused, he questions whose knee he is resting on as he tries to make sense of the moment. The young man attempts to stand despite his injuries, apologizing for his condition and explaining he is covered in scratches. The girl watches anxiously as he suddenly remembers the dark kobold and demands to know where it is. Her eyes wide with alarm, he insists the creature was nearby and urges her to be ready. The girl points confidently toward a pile of defeated monsters, smiling as she reveals she gathered them all together. The young man is stunned to see the dark kobolds lying dead, struggling to believe she is truly that strong. He stares at her in awe, questioning if she is some kind of magician given her small stature and overwhelming power. In this world, some people wield mysterious powers known as mages, requiring an exclusive skill called. The young man doubts the girl uses magic, questioning how she fights without it. He wonders if her youthful appearance hides a true age beyond 15. The girl asks the young man to move aside, assuring him she senses no ill will from his brother. She promises to reveal a special secret just for him, teasing that she will show who she really is. Suddenly, a brilliant light surrounds her, dazzling the young man who struggles to comprehend the overwhelming power radiating from her body. He realizes one doesn't have to be a mage to witness such incredible strength, stunned by the transformation unfolding before him. Emerging from the light is a majestic winged dragon towering over the young man, who gazes up in awe and disbelief at the true form the girl has taken. The young man gasps in shock, barely able to believe the towering dragon before him is the true form of the girl. His voice trembles as he exclaims, "A dragon?" He reaches out to gently touch the dragon's snout, marveling at its majestic presence. He compares it to a divine beast from a fairy tale, recalling that such creatures are legendary monsters with immense power and the ability to speak human language. The girl, now back in her smaller form, gracefully spins as she contemplates the title of sacred beast. She asks the young man to call her Loa instead of dragon or divine beast. He introduces himself as Mag, though he feels too old for such a greeting. Mag explains that his unusual skill attracts demons, making it dangerous for Loa to stay near him. She puffs her cheeks in disbelief, questioning if a dragon could really be defeated by such threats. Mag hurriedly clarifies he didn't mean it that way, worried about her safety. Loa refuses Mag's apology, puffing her cheeks in frustration. Mag admits he didn't want to cause her more trouble but confesses he's been drawn to her voice and doesn't want her to leave so soon. Mag wonders aloud if his skill, Decoy, which attracts demons, might somehow influence sacred beasts like Loa. She explains she only knows Decoy attracts demons and isn't sure if it affects divine beasts. Loa reveals that the skill Mag calls Decoy is known among dragons as the Caller, which summons creatures. Mag reflects that others might call it the same or think of it differently, questioning if it could call demons beyond their world. She explains the Caller can summon distant divine beasts, a vital skill for humans and beasts to coexist and thrive. Mag marvels at the idea of man and beast prospering together but worries if the Caller also attracts demons. Loa reassures him, having heard from her hometown dragon that there's no need to worry. Mag wonders if other children responded to his brother's thoughts, while Loa questions if demons can hear them too, explaining their voices carry even when far apart. He recalls claiming he acted for the city, surprised by their reaction. He realizes Decoy's identity as a skill that conveys thoughts to beasts, feeling uneasy that his own thoughts might be transmitted. Sitting beneath a tree, they discuss how other Decoy skill holders might have been saved by divine beasts like Loa, yet still suffer short lifespans. Loa reflects on people with the Caller skill having selfish desires. Unlike dragons who don't help such people, Mag listens, absorbing her words. Loa laughs softly, saying she thought her brother might pass the test of character. Sensing Mag's genuine desire to live fully, he questions this, and she affirms she could feel it. Their hands clasp tightly, deepening their bond. Mag promises to watch over Loa, wanting to know her better rather than be a target. She beams with joy. He recalls his wish to help his town but accepts his skills bring no happiness, resigning himself to die alone despite his hopes. He wonders if he can be useful to someone again. His voice tinged with uncertainty. She smiles warmly, urging him with bright eyes and a gentle squeeze of his hands, telling him he can do it. He looks at her with gratitude, touched by her faith, and thanks her sincerely. She tilts her head in curiosity, softly asking if he means big brother. Mag, bruised and weary, asks Loa if she would lend him her power despite just meeting. She looks at him with wide, sincere eyes and immediately agrees, their hands clasping tightly. Loa throws her arms around Mag joyfully, promising to take care of him as he stands stunned but grateful. Laughing, Loa apologizes for suddenly leaving and insists Mag rest for the day. He points toward his nearby house, relieved to be close to safety as the sun sets behind the trees. Inside a rustic cabin, Mag groans awake, startled by a confident woman bursting through the door declaring he is safe now that she has arrived. A confident woman bursts through the door, declaring that from now on, he should think of her as his big sister. The young man, still weak and bandaged, looks up in shock and confusion, unable to comprehend who she means. Mag wakes in bed, startled and confused, asking who the woman before him is. She smiles warmly and, with a graceful gesture, offers to reveal her name. The woman proudly declares herself as Fia the Phoenix, surrounded by swirling feathers and flames. Mag is amazed, realizing she crossed the sea overnight after feeling the passion in his master's words. Fia teases him about the impossible journey, confident and playful. He wonders silently about the reach of the Caller skill. Fia notes his calm reaction, suggesting he's already solved the mystery after resting. Mag nervously calls her Oni-san, causing her to react with surprise. Loa, rubbing her eyes, questions who Mag is talking to so early in the morning. She quickly asks why he didn't sleep in the other room. Mag denies having fun yesterday, clearly flustered. Fia confronts Loa, shocked to see a phoenix instead of a dragon. Mag looks confused, asking what's wrong with them both as tension rises. The two women glare fiercely at each other, the air thick with hostility. Fia warns that dragons and phoenixes don't get along, recalling their ancient battle for supremacy. The cabin shakes violently as their conflict escalates. Mag stands amid the wreckage, apologizing for nearly losing his home again. He questions why Fia insists on calling him master despite coming to help. She explains the Isle of Immortality's custom that a caller must be addressed with respect, unable to call him by name. Fia explains that calling Mag by his name out of the blue isn't allowed because of the Isle of Immortality's customs. She passionately declares that she recognized his heart, the strong, passionate heart of a caller who wants to live, and insists that if she doesn't help him, no one will. Loa listens silently, pouting in the background, while Mag smiles awkwardly. FIA's expression shifts to a more serious one as she admits she was thinking. Mag quietly confesses he's grateful for their help, though he fears struggling without the divine beasts. He admits it might be greedy, but he's happy to be with them. FIA and Loa exchange tense looks as FIA asks if he wants to be together. Loa, more open-minded than other dragons, says she doesn't mind. FIA resolves not to back out, citing tradition, and enthusiastically agrees to join. The mood lightens as Mag thanks them both warmly. He declares he's hungry and suggests breakfast. The group sits down to eat together, sharing simple food. Mag contemplates their limited supplies and the need to start planning for the future. He worries about food but remains determined. Outside the window, the landscape stretches wide and green. Mag suggests starting with securing drinking water, which FIA and Loa agree on. He promises that once they finish eating, they'll begin gathering water. The three cheer together, energized by the plan. Yet, Mag's inner voice reveals lingering doubts despite his excitement, hinting at the challenges ahead. Mag struggles with a heavy cart, startled by its weight, while FIA and Loa watch with concern. They ask if he's all right and offer to take over, but he insists he can manage. He admits he needs their help if demons appear, so he must keep trying, even if it's just this. FIA gently places a hand on his head, urging him not to overexert himself. FIA worries about Mag's unhealed wounds, but he reassures her he's fine and asks her not to look at him like that. He wonders aloud why their master lives here and suggests she could go to the countryside to buy supplies. FIA explains it's good rehab, and they won't stop her if she wants to. Mag reacts with surprise as FIA reveals they were kicked out of town. He laughs nervously, calling it no laughing matter. While FIA and Loa look serious, she offers to confront the townspeople herself. But Mag insists he understands their feelings and has been on this path too long to back down. The group arrives at a radiant, peaceful forest clearing. Loa beams with excitement, and FIA looks around in awe. Mag confirms this is the place they've been seeking, filled with promise and hope. Loa cheerfully announces she'll fetch water from the nearby river and gather plants on the way back, promising to return soon. Mag watches her leave, carrying a pot, while FIA looks on with concern. Suddenly, a huge splash erupts as Loa falls into the water. Mag shouts in surprise, reminding her she was supposed to help fetch water. FIA urges Mag to come along, but he protests, worried about getting wet and losing his flame. Loa laughs, teasing him for being foolish. Water splashes wildly as Loa struggles in the river, while Mag calls out to her in alarm. Both Loa and FIA are soaked, laughing and splashing in the water. FIA covers her mouth, amused, while Loa grins mischievously. Mag sits nearby, drenched and exhausted, watching the two with a mix of surprise and resignation. Mag greets the returning FIA, who looks flustered and wet, pulling at her soaked dress. She admits she was taken away by Loa and wonders if she's been any help at all, clearly embarrassed but trying to hide it. FIA blushes, teasing Mag about his embarrassment over his clothes, while he nervously admits discomfort with his collar. She smirks, claiming it means her master likes her, unfazed by his awkwardness. Loa watches quietly, cheeks puffed in frustration. Loa shouts angrily at Mag, insisting he has no ill feelings toward her despite his protests. The tension rises as they argue over why he acts this way, with Loa determined not to lose to him anymore. A desperate plea for help echoes faintly in the distance. Mag, FIA, and Loa gather near a cart filled with water pots and supplies. They exchange grateful smiles, acknowledging how useful divine beasts are and how much they've helped gather water, fish, vegetables, and medicinal herbs. Their camaraderie shines through as they prepare for lunch. FIA suddenly senses danger, warning Mag to stay back as a flock of birds takes flight. She turns sharply, alert and tense, declaring that something is coming from the dark forest ahead. The group halts as FIA asks what the disturbance is. Mag's eyes widen in alarm, fearing a monster, recalling how quickly danger appeared after Loa stayed close. A massive claw crashes into the ground, shattering earth and leaves, as Mag reflects on his determination to fetch water. A towering, menacing troll brandishes a huge spiked club, declaring he won't allow ruin. FIA stands firm, sizing up the threat. The troll growls, convinced the remote location drew him here, while Mag shouts in shock, identifying the creature as a man-eating troll. FIA launches herself at the troll with fiery speed, shouting she won't let it harm their master. She strikes fiercely, feathers and flames swirling around her as she confronts the brute head-on. The troll snarls, ready to retaliate as the battle erupts. Mag watches anxiously, doubting if FIA's attack will succeed. wondering if her being soaked with water weakens her. The troll lunges forward with a massive fist, but FIA remains defiant, preparing for the next clash as she calls out her name, steeling herself for the fight ahead. FIA's phoenix form rises, feathers swirling fiercely as she declares it's time to get serious. The troll braces, eyes wide with alarm, as the fiery assault begins to surge toward him. The phoenix swoops down with blazing speed, striking the troll with overwhelming force. Rocks and debris scatter as the troll stumbles backward, roaring in shock and pain. Flames and feathers streak through the air, racing toward the troll with relentless intensity. The creature's body ignites, its roar turning to a pained bellow as the fire consumes it. The trolls crumble instantly into ash and dust. Relief washes over the group as they thank FIA and each other. Yet, the tension remains. Loa warns there's no time to relax, as more danger looms in the forest. Mag clenches his teeth, urging everyone to leave quickly as the forest canopy rustles above. He recalls how they were attacked by demons many times on their journey, but thanks to Loa and FIA, they managed to survive and reach home with food and water. Yet, a new problem has surfaced that can't be ignored. Inside a rustic house, Mag contemplates the chaos demons bring every time they travel, vowing to take action before their lives can settle. Loa suddenly declares her intention to eliminate all demons nearby, surprising FIA and Mag. She admits it's impossible to clear them all, but she can handle some. Mag questions if Loa's plan is to claim territory by driving out other demons, and she confirms it. She reasons that if dragons must eventually live alone, it might be wise to establish her own domain on the mountain with Mag. The idea sparks a new hope for independence and safety. Loa enthusiastically claims the mountain and the house as her territory, explaining it's natural to stake a claim around their home. Mag is taken aback by her determination. Realizing this is why she's so resolute, the mountain, the house, and their future together now feel intertwined with Loa's bold new plan. Loa proudly declares she now has her own territory and demands to be treated like a grown-up, surprising Mag and FIA. Mag awkwardly greets FIA, who teases him about growing up. The tension breaks as they agree to eat together. She and FIA enthusiastically enjoy the meal, praising Mag's cooking and marveling at the human food. Mag asks about their past meals, and they reveal it was game meat. He then announces plans to create a field, sparking curiosity about farming. Mag explains the need for a field to grow vegetables, despite FIA's suggestion to gather wild plants. He emphasizes the convenience and taste of farm-grown vegetables near their home. Mag shares his excitement about having seeds and a big farm, while FIA offers to help since she's unfamiliar with human food. He reflects on the water needed for farming and daily life, revealing his experience helping a friend in the fields. He worries about the effort to fetch water repeatedly and hopes to build waterways. FIA doubts the feasibility, while Mag wonders if wells and canals could be constructed independently. FIA smiles warmly, assuring Mag that they have plenty of time and encouraging him to live his life the way he wants. Little by little, Loa looks on with a gentle, hopeful expression as Mag quietly promises he will. Mag cheerfully declares he will plow the fields, prompting Loa to offer to chase demons away for him. The dragon readies itself to follow, while Mag looks back in surprise, hearing Loa call him master. FIA summons swirling flames around her sword, warning Mag about the dangers they face in the mountains. She urges him to take the weapon. Emphasizing the risks ahead, Mag listens intently, preparing for what's to come. Mag catches the sword as it flies toward him, astonished by its lightness. FIA explains it's a sword forged with her power, able to move like a flying weapon despite not actually flying. Mag feels confident it will aid him greatly. FIA confesses her feelings of inadequacy, doubting she can truly help either of them or belong with them. Mag protests, recalling how she risked herself to save him from trolls. She insists that alone is reason enough to serve him, winking confidently. Suddenly, a dragon appears, startling both as Mag grabs his sword defensively. He admits he had a bad feeling and returned to find the beast. Loa leaps into action, drawing attention and calling for FIA to join the fight. Mag reflects that without FIA and Loa, he would be nothing and a burden. Determined, he vows to become more useful to them both. The next morning, he yawns and decides to prepare dinner before they wake. Outside, Mag notices a well and stares at it with curiosity. He questions what it is, intrigued by the sight as he contemplates its purpose. Mag stares at the newly appeared well, bewildered by its sudden presence where there was nothing before. He wonders if the water inside is drinkable, cautiously leaning over to inspect it. A voice calls out softly, catching his attention. A graceful woman emerges among the flowers, introducing herself as Mara, an insignificant water spirit. Mag is struck by her presence. His skill flickering in response as he questions who she is. She smiles warmly, confirming her identity and asking if he is the caller who summoned her. Mag introduces himself, curious if Mera is also a divine beast. She explains she hails from the Kelpie tribe, a peculiar group of sacred horses that govern underwater realms, taming rivers and waves. The memory of fairy tales about such creatures crosses Mag's mind as he listens intently. Mera explains the ancient Kelpie rule to aid callers in need of water, revealing she came because Mag required a well. He is overwhelmed by the revelation. While she assures him not to use honorifics and expresses happiness that he is pleased, Mag thanks her sincerely, surprised to learn she worked hard to create the well just for him. Mag asks Mera how she created such a magnificent water well overnight, astonished by her power. She calmly explains it was no big deal, just manipulating underground water and purifying it for drinking. Mag is impressed, calling her a true divine beast. Suddenly, FIA appears, excited to see Mera again. While another woman panics at the sight of a Kelpie, Mag greets them both warmly, and Mera wonders aloud if she is witnessing a phoenix and a dragon together. FIA clenches her fists, frustrated by the presence of both a dragon and a Kelpie. FIA loudly laments how her master seems to attract natural enemies. While small illustrations reveal her and Mera's incompatibility with swimming, Mag awkwardly apologizes, trying to ease the tension as the two women glare at each other. The morning sun shines over a cozy cabin as Mera offers breakfast, and Mag agrees. Later, Mag reflects on the experience. Admitting he enjoyed his first human meal, he apologizes, saying it's the only way he can thank them. FIA announces their next plan with determination. They are going to plant a field, while Mera watches with a slightly annoyed expression. Mag questions Loa about planting seeds now, doubting they will grow this season. Mera explains she made a plan to grow vegetables, which excited Loa. She admits worry but has been curious about Mag for some time. He asks why she lives so deep in the mountains instead of near humans, noting the house seemed unused until now. He reflects on his tough journey but feels grateful for everyone's help and the freedom to live as he wishes. He apologizes for not being able to do much for them yet. FIA calls out that they are ready, but Mera warns Mag not to waste the seeds their master brought, or he'll be doomed. Mera raises her hands, causing plants to sprout rapidly around them. Mag and FIA watch in amazement as the seedlings burst to life, their expressions filled with surprise and awe. The plants have grown lush and vibrant, dazzling everyone. Mera praises Mag as the best dragon she has ever seen. Mag is stunned, questioning how a dragon could perform such a feat. Mera explains that many different kinds of dragons exist, hinting at Mag's unique abilities. Mag learns that his grandpa was a terrestrial dragon controlling the Earth's power, which Mag inherited to help plants grow. He is amazed to hear terrestrial dragons embody the Earth itself. A cheerful girl urges Mag to try using the power, holding out a star-shaped vegetable, while Mera and FIA watch encouragingly. Mera and FIA all take bites of the star-shaped vegetable, delighting in its taste. Mag explains he needs plenty of water for his power to work, but the lack of waterways had limited him. FIA credits Mera for the success, and Mera humbly questions the praise. The group expresses gratitude to Mera for enabling the delicious harvest. Mera smiles warmly, glad to help, while FIA suggests making more food if they all work hard. They agree to plow the fields together, determined to keep the harvest steady and enjoy good food daily. After a long day of plowing, Mag wipes sweat from his brow, proud of the finished field. The others rest nearby, exhausted but satisfied. Mera offers drinks to everyone, praising Mag as a kind person despite being a Kelpie. Mag insists he is fine, quietly appreciating the moment of camaraderie. Mera suggests to Mag that it would be better to have a watering hole near the fields and offers to make an additional well. Mag, surprised, worries if they should rest instead, but she insists she can coordinate the water so it won't mix with other sources. Suddenly, water bursts up violently from the ground, startling Mag and Mera as they scramble to avoid the powerful flow. Mag holds a cup of warm water, amazed by its unfamiliar scent. While apologizing for mistaking the water vein and messing up, he urges Mera to consider making a bath out of the water, noting another vein nearby. He excitedly imagines soaking in a hot spring surrounded by rocks, but Mera warns it might boil them alive. Mag explains that soaking in hot water relieves fatigue and that if the water comes from a spring, they could use it daily, though it's considered a strange culture. Mag eagerly agrees to build the bath, while Mera thoughtfully considers how to prevent leaks and drainage issues. The peaceful evening settles in as they decide to have dinner first. After eating, exhaustion takes over and both fall asleep quickly. Meanwhile, Mera begins working on the bath, curious and determined to get it right. The bath is completed swiftly, steaming invitingly. Mara asks if they can wait a bit longer before entering, but Mag reassures her to take her time. She then quietly asks if she can stay in his home for a while, reaching out her hand. Under the moonlit sky, Mara explains that kelpies are divine water beasts with powers that are hard to control. Young kelpies like her must leave home to train and gain experience. Mag realizes she came to them on her journey. She sees the mountain as the perfect place for training, offering help with wells and hot springs. Mag warmly welcomes her to stay as long as she likes, admitting he might be more trouble than worth but is glad she's there. Mag warmly expresses his eagerness to work together from now on. Their hands clasped in a promise, under the moonlit sky. He reflects on how strange it feels to be happy and living alongside others after being kicked out of town just days ago. He admits to feeling useless until now and asks if he can finally indulge in this peace. Mara smiles gently, encouraging him to do what he can and reassuring him that he will settle in soon. As she winks, the scene shifts to a hooded figure observing from the treetops, quietly acknowledging that Mag is still alive. The village remains quiet, with few demons seen since that day. Inside a room, several villagers discuss how Mag must have been drawn deep into the mountains. One expresses regret but accepts the situation. A young woman returns, announcing her arrival, prompting a man to ask how things went. The woman explains there were no demons or signs of battle all the way to the mountains, so she ventured up to the cabin. She wonders how they managed to build a bath on a farm so quickly and suspects others besides Mag are helping. Shock ripples through the room as a dragon appears in a magical circle, prompting urgent calls to kill Mag immediately. The elders discuss how the dragon likely came from a decoy skill, fearing the danger if Mag angers it and returns to the village. Tensions rise as one man insists they should have killed Mag instead of driving him out. Another argues for watching him closely and stopping him if needed. The village chief steps in, urging calm and acknowledging the pain Mag has already endured, asking everyone to hold back their anger. The village elder commands to gather those confident in their skills immediately, insisting they eliminate Mag before the dragon spirals out of control. Two villagers exchange uneasy looks, one apologizing while affirming a duty to protect everyone in the village. Mag adjusts his hood with a determined smile, declaring they are ready to move out. He reflects on how long it's been since he arrived and acknowledges the help he's received, though he needs to keep moving to avoid stiffness. Holding a long sword, Mag contemplates its beauty, now seeing it more as a ceremonial weapon. Flames flicker from the blade despite his inability to use magic, powered by Fianna's strength. He resolves to be careful with it, especially in the forest, promising to practice later. Loa peeks around a corner, pouting as Mag calls her name in surprise. She admits wanting to give something meaningful to him, like Fianna did. Though pleased, Mag insists she's already done more than enough, reminding her that sharing power is part of dragon tradition and the caller's role. The dragon explains that entrusting a portion of power to the caller shows sincerity and trust, suggesting that the phoenixes share a similar tradition. Fia nods, understanding why Fianna embedded part of her power in the sword. The girl with horns adds that this tradition originated from the legend of the first caller. A vivid memory unfolds. Long ago, a demon god appeared to rule through fear, but a man connected to many divine beasts united their power and defeated the demon. The boy reflects on the skill's deeper history and the sacrifice of the first caller, who died defeating the demon lord. He reaches out, addressing his older brother. The horned girl steps forward, sword drawn, warning that this power is meant only for protection, not to defeat others. The boy looks surprised but listens carefully as she emphasizes the responsibility that comes with the power. He hesitates but accepts the sword, gripping it firmly. The boy pledges that if anything happens to Loa, he hopes to be allowed to use this power. Though uncertain, he admits he might need her strength someday. The girl's expression softens, touched by his resolve and sincerity. The girl with horns insists on a promise, warning him not to push himself too far. The boy agrees with a bright smile, relieved to have her understanding. He thanks her sincerely, feeling grateful for her support. Reflecting on his narrow escape from death after being cast out, he resolves to contribute however he can, drawing his bow with determination. He acknowledges the power protects both himself and his companions. A wild creature lunges, but he readies himself to handle the daily burdens of food, housework, and heavy lifting. He inspects his recent hunt, noting the quality of the prey while considering catching more before returning home. Suddenly, a chilling voice declares it has found him, catching him off guard as he turns in surprise. A massive swirling vortex of energy erupts before him, forcing him to shield his face in shock and confusion, struggling to comprehend the overwhelming force unleashed. A flare bomb ignites, but the boy is told he lacks the magician's skill to use it, making it useless to him. The group, led by an old man in a wizard's hat, confronts him, questioning how they reached so deep into the mountains. The boy admits he brought the dragon here using a decoy, insisting he must take matters into his own hands after letting a dangerous man escape the city. He tries to reason, but the old man orders him to leave immediately. The wizard summons swirling fiery orbs, declaring his duty to protect the city. The boy reflects on the chief's decades of defending against monsters and his overwhelming power to incinerate dozens of kobolds at once, doubting he can escape such a man. The boy is struck by a sword-wielding man and accused of causing the chaos by using the decoy, despite his protest that he followed orders. The attackers demand he leave before the city is destroyed, escalating the confrontation into a fierce clash. The boy lashes out, accusing the old man of being too selfish and blind to the feelings tied to the place that cared for him. The old man counters, demanding if the boy truly understands the weight of his actions. The boy insists he does, his resolve unwavering. He explains how he was ready to die protecting his hometown from demons, even if it meant living quietly in the mountains afterward. Confused, he questions why the demons have started emerging again, believing they had stopped after he ventured deep into the mountains. The old man demands to know how he could be so sure. The boy reveals the dragon's role, explaining they don't destroy their homes and that these creatures communicate with humans, unlike monsters. The old man scolds him for foolishly thinking he could speak with the dragon, calling him mad. The boy admits that no matter what he says, his words won't be understood, and he braces himself. Suddenly, the old man strikes, but the boy narrowly evades the attack. The old man grudgingly praises his skill. The boy apologizes quietly to Mag as a massive fiery orb hurtles toward him. He raises his weapon, preparing to face the incoming destructive force head-on. A massive fiery orb hurtles through the forest, forcing the boy to brace himself in shock. He calls out to Fianna, desperately asking her to lend him her strength as he grips his sword tightly. The boy swings his sword with precision, slicing through the incoming fiery magic. He marvels at the power of just a sword, realizing it can destroy their magic. The old man, determined, casts a powerful spell, launching multiple water bullets toward the boy. The boy questions if Fianna's sword is a bad choice against water magic, contemplating the challenge. With renewed determination, the boy thanks Loa and charges forward, slashing his sword repeatedly. Each strike shatters the water bullets, sending debris flying as he fights to protect himself and push back the attack. The old man recoils in shock, demanding how such extraordinary power was acquired, unable to classify the boy as wizard, mage, or sage. The boy firmly declares his strength comes from the decoy power lent by others. Gripping his sword with resolve, the old man charges with his spear, shouting that the boy is a danger to them all. The boy reflects on the difficulty of enduring repeated magical attacks despite borrowing everyone's power, realizing he can only use magic effectively with magical weapons. A dark voice warns that he cannot be allowed to live like this, while the boy feels a growing unease. The old man raises his staff, summoning a massive, intricate magic circle glowing with runes and symbols, shouting the spell's name, Heavenly Detonation. The boy recognizes the spell from a past catastrophe when a huge swarm of demons was wiped out by a single devastating strike. The ground is scorched in a massive crater, and the boy braces himself, knowing he must escape or be destroyed by the attack. The boy panics, realizing the damage from the attack will be catastrophic. He debates breaking the staff to stop it but fears everyone will be caught in the blast if he runs. Determined, he dashes forward, vowing to arrive in time. The old man swings his staff down with a fierce grin, but the boy reacts instantly, shouting a warning and stepping in front to protect his master. A majestic phoenix bursts into the scene, wings spread wide as feathers drift through the air. The old man recoils in shock, unable to believe the legendary creature has appeared. The phoenix stands beside the boy, who explains he rushed here sensing his master's danger. The old man and his followers are revealed as leaders of the boy's hometown. The boy laughs nervously as the phoenix questions the attacker's motives, while the old man angrily demands how much more chaos they intend to cause and if they want everyone dead. The boy admits the attackers are worse than he expected. While the phoenix listens quietly, the old man, gripping his staff, admits he would punish them himself but senses someone even angrier is approaching. A fierce whirlwind erupts, shocking the old man as he demands, "Who is this?" A massive dragon appears, towering and imposing, declaring that the intruders have not only violated his territory, but also dared to harm his precious caller. His voice carries a grave warning. The dragon demands the old man's thoughts, glaring down as the old man and the boy recoil in fear. The old man nervously asks why the dragon remains silent, confessing his embarrassment. The dragon's anger is unmistakable, and the boy quickly apologizes, realizing this is the one who raised the town to kill him. The old man explains he only wanted to keep Mag away from their home but never imagined this particular person would be involved, silently urging to drive the threat away. The old man gasps, horrified, as the dragon's fierce gaze questions if the threat will be taken all the way to the afterlife. The boy stands tense, listening as the dragon asks why God gave humans the caller skill, the skill of Decoy. The boy admits he never considered the reason behind the caller skill. While the old man confesses he thought it was meant to attract demons, the dragon explains humans have long forgotten the caller's importance, especially now without demon invasions or disasters like before. The dragon begins to explain what a caller truly is. A person who communicates with divine beasts to protect mankind. When humans cannot handle threats alone, they call on divine beasts, connecting both worlds for the greater good. The old man adds that if powerless, one would crave such power, but also fear losing it. The boy learns the caller is said to be born before great disasters, a secret he finds startling. The dragon scolds the boy for his ignorance, calling it pathetic. While the boy pleads to leave the matter be, the old man hints at the deeper meaning behind his skill. The dragon assures the boy that divine beasts are capable of reason and will not attack the city unless provoked by his actions. The boy admits fault for making everyone nervous and insists he doesn't want any more trouble. He vows not to return to the city and asks to stay here instead. He believes his presence is the only thing that can keep the town safe. The group listens, shocked by his resolve. The boy smiles warmly, saying this is the last thing he can do for his hometown. Others plead with him to return to the city and avoid causing chaos in the mountains. The old man insists it's best for everyone to live in peace and safety. The boy is told they can no longer refuse him and to do as he wishes. He apologizes for the misunderstanding and the attempt to wipe him out. As the old man walks away, the boy quietly says goodbye to Mag. The girl hopes they never meet again, leaving a heavy silence. The boy bows deeply, begging them to keep their hometown alive. The group remains silent. Then the old man quietly promises to do so. The boy is told he is as kind as ever, a final affirmation of their bond as the scene fades to the peaceful landscape. The boy reassures them with a calm smile, explaining the chief is likely just tired of dealing with their conflicts. He jokes about how he would have blasted the chief if he were in their shoes, lightening the mood as they walk together. They all agree to move forward peacefully, but his expression suddenly shifts to concern as he asks urgently about Myra's whereabouts. Relief washes over the group when they find Myra safe and sound. Laughing alongside FIA and the horned girl, Mara greets him warmly, glad to see he escaped serious harm, while tied-up men lie unconscious behind her. The boy explains that the tied men had barged in, demanding to see the caller and brandishing weapons. Mara confirms they were guarding the house and had split up to help him. The boy worries about how to get the captives home, but the horned girl eagerly volunteers to assist. Mara smiles gently, expressing her relief that both he and Myra are unharmed. The sun sets over the mountains as the boy promises to treat everyone after causing so much trouble. Mara offers to prepare dinner for their return, while the boy insists on leaving the captives by the mountain to avoid further trouble. The group shares a joyful moment, laughter echoing under the rising moon, marking the end of a chaotic day. He reflects on never returning to his hometown, feeling sadness but accepting that his skills must no longer cause pain or strife. Surprised by the peaceful world and the caller's story, he doubts his abilities will be needed again. Gazing at the full moon, he resolves to live quietly from now on, craving nothing more. Night deepens as a cave entrance looms in the forest. A small, mysterious black cat with glowing eyes steps into the moonlit clearing, letting out a soft meow. Several weeks have passed since the chief and his men attacked. Life has settled into peaceful routine without major problems. The boy tends the crops diligently, carrying water to nourish the plants, grateful for the help of the divine beast Loa. He relies on the power of the divine beasts to manage the farm. Confident he can handle this much, wiping sweat from his brow, he declares today's work finished and suggests taking a bath before lunch. Immersed in the hot spring, he savors the warmth and luxury, reflecting on the hardships his skill has brought him. Relaxation nearly lulls him to sleep until a sudden call from a familiar voice startles him awake. Two women wrapped in towels approach the hot spring, announcing they will join him. He panics, reminding them that the springs are separated by gender according to human rules, and hurriedly tries to avoid the awkward situation. The woman with short hair teases the boy about being wet. Laughing softly, she explains that Fianna came along for her training, while the girl with the large bow nervously admits she was distracted and almost drowned, apologizing profusely. The boy offers to get out first, concerned about the cold. The woman with floral hair clips invites him back in, promising to wrap a towel around him and asking if he minds sharing the bath. The short-haired woman confidently assures him she learned her lesson about modesty and won't enter the bath naked or in see-through clothes anymore. while the boy is left overwhelmed by the warmth and closeness. The two women discuss the hot spring's temperature, explaining it's perfectly controlled and not like boiling water. The boy calls out to the woman with floral hair clips, startled, just as she suddenly calls him Oni-chan, catching everyone off guard. A majestic dragon named Loa proudly announces it has hunted its prey for the day, dropping the catch near the hot spring. The boy praises Loa for its patrol work, grateful for the help. The two women wrapped in towels assure the boy they'll join him soon. One suddenly dashes into the water, startling the others with her boldness. The splash echoes as she plunges in, while the boy urges her to wrap herself in a towel when around him. He admits the water's warmth is comforting but pleads for more modesty next time. The boy covers his face, overwhelmed, while the horned woman beams brightly, saying she doesn't mind. Suddenly, a soft meow rustles nearby plants, drawing everyone's attention. The boy calls out urgently, sensing something approaching. A small black kitten crouches timidly among the grass, prompting the boy to question if it's really a kitten. The horned woman excitedly calls it cute, while the boy worries aloud, shocked to realize it's actually a monster. The girl with the bow eagerly offers to wash the kitten, but it slips away with a splash, startling them all. The boy gently checks the kitten, noting no hostility and that it seems too happy to bite. The horned woman finds this strange, while the boy remains cautiously optimistic. The two women wonder how the kitten could have wandered into Loa's mountain territory, curious about its origins. The boy suggests helping the harmless creature since it's just a child, and the woman agrees, deciding to fetch food while the others stay behind. Suddenly, the girl with the bow grabs the other woman's chest playfully, causing her to shout in surprise. The kitten sniffles nearby, lamenting it's so hungry it felt bad, but can't produce milk despite its size. The boy scolds the kitten for its antics, while the girl jokes about wondering if milk would come out because of its size. The kitten nervously laps at the soup, its wide eyes filled with uncertainty. The girl with the bow reassures that monsters are tough and usually eat whatever they can, while the boy admits he worried about the soup since they had no milk. The woman with long hair smiles warmly, grateful that the kitten's strength has improved thanks to Mara's help. The woman grows thoughtful, intrigued by how the kitten dared enter a dragon's territory so boldly, noting it's practically suicide for a monster child to do so. The boy wonders aloud if another divine beast has appeared, but the girl dismisses it, saying they would have noticed by now. The woman suggests the kitten might have come from a place hidden from Loa's watch, like a cave where the dragon can't see the sky. They consider that the kitten could have entered the mountains through such a cave, unaware of Loa's presence. The boy contemplates the possibility of dark kobolds hiding in unknown caves within the mountains, explaining it's not surprising if they found a secret cave after living there so long. The girl eagerly proposes exploring the mountain to prevent more monsters from appearing suddenly. The boy agrees, ready to start today, as the girl holds the kitten close, hopeful and determined. The woman stresses how a monster-infested cave would be a serious problem if it exists, urging they find it quickly. The girl agrees fiercely, insisting they can't allow monsters to act freely in their territory. The kitten leaps energetically, prompting the girl to declare they must discover the cave's location as soon as possible. The boy calmly tells the kitten to rest and wait for them, while the girl nods in agreement, showing no objection. The kitten squirms in the girl's hands, who affectionately scolds it not to get too attached to the boy. The boy winces, feeling awkward about how clingy the kitten has become. The girl laughs softly, amused by the kitten's attachment. The boy reflects on how the kitten's name should match the sound it makes, pondering this thoughtfully. The boy's stomach growls loudly, interrupting the moment as he admits his hunger. He smiles warmly, deciding they should eat lunch first to enjoy some peace. The woman and girl watch him with gentle smiles as he looks forward to a calm break. Outside, the peaceful mountain landscape stretches under a clear sky, while the boy silently hopes that nothing will go wrong. The boy notes how far they've traveled, shielding his eyes as he surveys the rocky terrain. The girl points out a dark cave ahead, identifying it as a kobold's nest. She calls to the boy, drawing his attention. The girl explains the cave resembles where she was born, dark, peaceful, and cool. She warns strangers must move carefully inside. The boy contemplates the valley's many hiding spots, realizing it serves as a natural fortress and perfect nest. He calls out the girl's names thoughtfully. The woman gestures toward a distant area, questioning if it feels strange. The boy senses something unnatural, noting the magical power nearby is cut off in that space. The girl reacts sharply, warning of suspicion just before an explosion erupts. Approaching the cave with caution, the group detects a strange smell emanating from it. The boy suggests retreat if danger arises, but the girl insists it doesn't seem threatening. Suddenly, a dragon bursts out from the cave, startling them all. A horde of monstrous creatures roars fiercely, advancing with terrifying force. The boy shouts a warning to retreat as a massive winged beast lunges forward, launching a powerful attack that shatters the ground. The boy grips his sword tightly, overwhelmed by the sheer number of monsters surrounding them. He wonders if the cave might actually be a dungeon. Noting the unpleasant flow of magical power, he urges the group to confront the threat quickly, questioning if a direct fight is their best option. The girl with horns insists they must fight immediately, warning that the dungeon's creator likely knows of their presence. The girl with the bow agrees, expressing her hatred for a dungeon in her territory. Another woman cautions that if the dungeon grows unchecked, it could consume the entire mountain, leaving nothing to be done. The group steels themselves, determined to enter the cave and face the danger head-on. The boy clenches his fist, resolved to uncover the truth as they step into the dark, foreboding entrance of the cave. The boy marvels at the dungeon's labyrinthine structure, comparing it to a fairy tale. The woman with long hair explains their goal lies in the innermost section, where defeating the boss monster will stop the dungeon and make the adolescent monsters vanish over time. The girl with horns warns the boy to kill the boss as soon as possible, emphasizing it as an absolute rule. He nods, promising to keep it in mind. The boy notices the girl with horns trembling and asks what happened. She denies fear but admits discomfort with dark places. He reassures her, gently patting her head and promising to protect everyone with his power. Tears well in her eyes as she clings to him. The boy asks if the sword and dagger contain both their powers, and the woman confirms. He contemplates the implications, suddenly alarmed as monsters rush toward them. The woman shouts the girl's name, warning her. The girl with horns launches a fierce counterattack, striking multiple monsters with swift, powerful blows. The woman calmly explains that sudden monster attacks will happen often and urges acceptance of this reality. The boy praises the girl's incredible skill, attributing it to her daily training. The boy notices a shimmering bracelet forming around his wrist, startled by the sudden appearance of a water bracelet. The girl with horns explains it's a part of her power, meant to help prevent surprise attacks, urging him to use it carefully. Grateful, he thanks the woman named Mara, who humbly insists she's just a guest and wants to contribute. The boy feels cared for as they press deeper into the dungeon, recalling how the divine beast's strength helped them fend off monsters with little trouble. He reflects on the strange guidance they've been receiving, noting how monsters always ambush them when they choose the wrong path. The girl with horns explains the halfway point is a guarded large room in the dungeon, likely the lair of a powerful keeper monster. The boy considers that the monster might want to test their strength quickly by drawing them there. The girl with horns reasons they must pass through the halfway point to reach the innermost room. The boy sees a silver lining if the monsters are guiding them, making their journey easier. The girl with horns beams with excitement, declaring the boy is getting the hang of it, while the woman watches thoughtfully from behind. A massive door chained shut stands before them, signaling the halfway point of the dungeon. The group approaches cautiously, the girl with long hair confirming the guarded room lies just ahead. The boy is warned not to be reckless from here on, as even the dungeon's keeper might overwhelm them. Determined, he vows to support the others and not just rely on their protection. The group expresses faith in the boy's abilities, encouraging him warmly. The girl with horns and the others prepare to break down the chained door together, ready to face whatever lies beyond. The door explodes from their combined assault, debris flying everywhere. The boy watches in awe as the path clears, and the group rallies to move forward deeper into the dungeon. The boy steadies himself, reminding himself to stay calm as he faces the looming challenge. Surrounded by his allies, he feels reassured and ready to move forward, clenching his fist with determination. "Let's go!" he declares, stepping into the unknown. A shadowy figure with a dragon-like appearance confronts the group in the dungeon's depths. The boy and his companions stand firm, prepared to face this new threat as tension fills the air. Shock and confusion grip the boy as the dragon figure reveals itself as an undead. The boy's heart races, overwhelmed by the sudden revelation and the presence of this formidable foe. The dragon's grievous wound confirms a painful history, hinting at a past defeat by powerful parents. Concerned, the boy's allies check on him while he grips his weapon tightly, questioning the reasons behind this encounter. The boy demands to know why the dragon-like figure has appeared here, his voice filled with urgency and confusion. The imposing creature glares down, its spiked scales and clawed hand radiating menace as tension thickens between them. The boy faces the towering dragon-like undead, gripping his sword tightly as tension mounts. His emotions spiral, fear creeping in as he struggles to maintain control. The phoenix and unicorn companions anxiously ask what's wrong with their master. The boy recalls the monster's attack on his hometown long ago, his expression hardening with painful memories. He reveals his parents defeated the creature but suffered grave consequences. The undead's roar echoes, questioning the purpose behind its resurrection. The boy steels himself, pushing aside doubts to focus on the fight ahead. The dragon-like undead lunges with overwhelming force, forcing the boy to brace for impact. His body stiffens, unable to move as chains seem to bind him. Mounted on the unicorn, the boy charges forward, slashing at the undead's feet to disrupt its assault. The phoenix cries out in alarm as debris crashes down from the shockwave. The companions call out in concern, checking if the boy is unharmed amid the chaos. The boy struggles against the overwhelming assault, feeling like a burden as he questions what to do next. The dragon-like undead roars, declaring it's his turn and unleashes a fierce breath attack. The attack is swiftly deflected by a shield, surprising everyone with the boy's quick defense. The impact sends shockwaves through the area, forcing the companions to react. The boy faces the relentless charge, fear gripping him as he realizes escape is his only option. His feet shuffle desperately, heart pounding as the enemy closes in. Suddenly, the boy is pulled into a protective embrace by the woman with long hair and horns, shielding him from the attack. His eyes widen in shock as the dragon-like undead snarls nearby, the danger far from over. The undead warrior relentlessly charges forward, his heavy footsteps pounding the ground as he swings his massive weapon. The boy's eyes widen, absorbing the encouragement to not give up, feeling the weight of everyone's hope resting on him. The horned woman, tears glistening in her eyes, pleads with the boy to protect them, her voice trembling with emotion as she confesses her desire to stay by his side longer. Clenching his sword tightly, the boy recalls his past helplessness. But now he stands firm, strengthened by his friends and the bonds they share. Determination hardens his gaze as he refuses to let his life end here. With a fierce battle cry, the boy lunges at the dragon-like undead, shouting that he wants to live alongside everyone. His sword slashes through the air, fueled by his unyielding will to survive and protect. The boy swings his sword fiercely, shouting that this time he won't let anyone else die before him again. His strike crashes into the enemy, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. Surrounded by his summoned beasts, he apologizes but insists they will defeat the foe together. The four creatures stand ready, their presence bolstering his resolve. The enemy's shield distorts the magic, confusing their attacks. The boy quickly asks for a moment to devise a plan, eyes sharp with focus as he searches for a weakness. The armored enemy roars and charges, shield raised to block incoming blows. The boy commands Mara to act, launching a fiery attack as the battle intensifies around them. The boy and his summoned beasts launch a fiery attack, the flames spiraling upward with fierce intensity, catching the enemy off guard. The armored foe's eyes widen in shock as the assault crashes toward him. The enemy stands firm amid the smoke and debris, gripping his shield and weapon tightly. The boy seizes the moment, charging forward with a determined strike aimed at the foe's exposed side. The enemy grins menacingly, ready to counterattack as the boy collides with his shield. The clash sends shockwaves through the ground, the boy's resolve burning brighter as he braces for the next move. The enemy lunges with overwhelming force, forcing the boy to leap back just in time. His eyes blaze with fierce determination as he vows to defeat this formidable opponent no matter what. The armored enemy swings a massive weapon with brutal force, smashing through the surroundings as debris flies everywhere. The beast roars in pain as the boy's attack crashes into the wall, sending shockwaves through the area. He declares he can hear the enemy clearly, no matter where it hides. The dragon explains that by luring the foe with his voice, they can pinpoint its location despite the smoke screen. Surrounded by his summoned beasts, the boy rallies his resolve, confident this will be the final battle and they will win. In the aftermath, the group breathes a sigh of relief. The boy apologizes for his recklessness but vows to be more careful, expressing his desire to stay with everyone. They share a warm moment of gratitude and renewed determination. The young man contemplates the strength of the dungeon's boss, worried it could be far stronger than the monsters they've faced so far. Determined, he resolves to defeat the boss quickly to return to a peaceful life. The woman beside him quietly acknowledges his plan, but suddenly senses something and utters a surprised question mark as a dark shadow approaches. The shadowy form lunges toward them with terrifying speed. The young man reacts instantly, throwing a blast to intercept the attack. Both women nearby react with shock and alarm, their eyes wide with fear. The young man is violently thrown back, grimacing in pain as he crashes to the ground. The woman reaches out desperately, horrified by the sudden turn of events. The other two women rush toward them, panic evident in their expressions as the situation grows dire. The three women call out urgently to the fallen young man, their voices filled with concern. They reach out toward a glowing rift or portal that has appeared above, hoping for a way to help or escape. For thousands of years, a dark figure has slept within the land, waiting for the moment to regain full power. The skeletal being vows to avoid past mistakes and take control of the world once again, preparing to act immediately. The young man gasps in alarm as the skeletal figure grabs him suddenly, his eyes wide with fear and shock. The skeletal figure looms over him with a menacing grin, its dark cloak swirling ominously as it holds him captive. The young man questions the creature, demanding to know why it targeted Mara and what it truly is. The skeleton scoffs at the ignorance of humans and promises to reveal its name as a souvenir, while the young man braces for the confrontation. The skeletal figure declares his name as Desperado, revealing himself as one of the 7 demon lords controlling this dungeon. The young man reels in shock, realizing the first caller made a pact with such a being, and that 6 others must exist. Desperado admits boredom from waiting and explains his plan to devour divine beasts invited as rewards. He acknowledges the young man's arrival and decides to add him to the dungeon's ghouls as a reward for coming this far. The young man stands defiantly, refusing to let Desperado act freely. The demon lord mocks the boy's ability to wield divine beast power, but notes something familiar in his eyes. Desperado attacks with deadly force, calling the boy unpleasant and deserving death. The young man narrowly blocks with a sickle and resolves to fight using the divine beast's power, though the strain on his body grows immense and uncertain how long he can maintain it. Dark shadows surge from Desperado as he mocks the boy's efforts, calling the attack messy before launching a powerful assault. The young man leaps forward, commanding Loa's power and combining the might of the phoenix and dragon to counterattack fiercely. Desperado questions if this boy is truly the divine beast tamer of the era. The boy braces himself, aware of the grave risk wielding such power in front of Desperado, knowing failure could endanger everyone else. Desperado strikes swiftly, warning the boy that it's foolish to jump in, catching him off guard as the deadly clash continues. The boy charges forward, unleashing a swirling, fiery barrier of water that crashes against Desperado's attack. The skeletal figure recoils in shock, recognizing the power of a kelpie. The boy strikes, forcing Desperado back with a fierce blow. Desperado lunges with a deadly scythe, but the boy meets the assault head-on. Shouting that he will defeat him, the skeleton snarls in rage, calling the boy a bastard as the clash intensifies. The boy realizes his weapon's divine beast power is working, refusing to forgive Desperado's cruelty. The skeletal lord grins menacingly, vowing to kill the boy for injuring him, swinging his scythe with lethal intent. The boy dodges as Desperado explains his body is shielded by a super-dense magical barrier that blocks all physical and magical attacks. He boasts of reigning over one of the world's strongest domains, earning his title as one of the 7 demon lords through unmatched offense and defense. Desperado recalls how only a human could gather so many divine beasts, combining their power to pierce his shield. One person dared to challenge him, injuring him so badly he had to sleep for thousands of years. He swears never to let a human crush him again. The boy struggles, panting as he runs out of stamina. Desperado's relentless assault grows more intense, forcing the boy to defend desperately with his shield. The skeleton mocks the boy's weakening power, demanding if he's lost his strength. The boy pushes himself to endure, determined to protect those he loves and fight back. Desperado unleashes a dark, swirling attack, calling it sweet. The boy senses something is wrong and tries to create distance, alarmed by the sudden shift in the battle. The boy's eyes widen in alarm as he realizes he's dangerously close to the incoming attack. He grips his sword tightly, bracing himself, but the dark energy surges forward relentlessly, leaving no chance to dodge. The skeletal figure raises his arm triumphantly, commanding a barrage of massive, ominous spear-like shadows to descend from above, each one dripping with dark power. The shadowy spears rain down in overwhelming numbers, filling the entire frame as they speed toward their target with deadly intent. The boy braces himself as countless dark spear-like shadows descend relentlessly, each one a deadly threat. He knows that a single hit from these could be fatal, and his breath quickens with the pressure. There's no room for hesitation now. Launching himself forward with desperate resolve, he declares this fight is all or nothing. The skeletal figure mocks his despair, eager to savor the thrilling battle, and the ground trembles under their fierce clash. The boy swings his sword fiercely, but the barrage is overwhelming. Even his water shield begins to falter under the relentless assault, and he clenches his teeth, refusing to give in despite the mounting damage. Spinning away from the attack, the boy's eyes blaze with fierce determination. The skeletal lord notices the life and sharp intent burning within them, recognizing a deadly resolve aimed directly at him. The skeletal figure recalls a past near defeat at the hands of a man with the same eyes as the boy before him. He admits the boy was not weak, enduring his attacks and even causing him to fear death, calling him his greatest enemy. The skeletal lord declares the boy's body is not yet accustomed to the power of 3 divine beasts, stating he has reached his limit and no longer has a chance of winning. The boy acknowledges his limits, feeling his power waning, but vows to destroy the skeletal figure before he can be overwhelmed. The skeletal lord sneers, dismissing him as an inferior species. The skeletal lord unleashes a massive, crushing strike. The boy is struck hard, collapsing with a pained expression, while the skeletal figure's wide, unblinking eyes fixate on him. The boy grits his teeth, struggling to bring his sword down as he demands why his enemy won't fall. The skeletal figure laughs, noting the boy's body has already surpassed its limits. Yet he still fights. The skeletal lord declares the reason is simple. The boy shouts fiercely that he can't die here, recalling how he once thought he would sacrifice himself for the city when he received Decoy. But meeting those who helped him changed his resolve. Now he knows there's more he can do and someone waiting for his return. The skeletal lord launches a brutal attack, questioning whether the boy is truly a demon lord. The boy counters, refusing to lose because his fight is for those important to him. He calls upon the power of the divine beasts ruling the world, determined to protect everyone no matter the cost. With a fierce cry, the boy commands to shatter the darkness, calling for power to protect everyone as his sword clashes against the skeletal lord's strike, unleashing a blinding explosion of energy. The skeletal figure screams in pain as the swords recoil violently from the unleashed power, forcing the boy to stumble back in shock. He realizes the swords have been pushed away by the force of his attack. Seizing the moment, the boy summons the swirling power of the divine beasts around his sword, preparing to strike while his opponent is vulnerable. His eyes blaze with determination as he readies his next move. The boy lunges forward with all his might, refusing to let this chance slip away. The skeletal lord covers his face in shock as the boy's sword crashes against him with explosive force. The skeletal lord reels in disbelief, shouting that this is impossible. The boy senses the enemy's unease and recalls that Desperado's awakening was unlike the divine beast's power he once knew. The clash intensifies as the boy presses his advantage, driving his sword forward with relentless resolve. The skeletal lord's hollow eyes widen as he admits being drawn toward the boy. The boy shouts in disbelief, recognizing this as a reaction to his skill. The skeletal lord praises the boy's fierce spirit, drawn to his will to survive even against a demon lord. The boy's sword slashes fiercely, striking the skeletal lord who warns that the strongest souls, whether good or evil, are where true bravery lies. The skeletal lord cautions that one who defeats a demon lord transcends humanity, urging the boy to prepare for a fearful destiny. The boy declares his choice to live together with everyone, rejecting the skeletal lord's reasons. He charges forward, determined, as their weapons clash with explosive force. The skeletal lord sneers at the boy's vulgarity, commanding him to destroy the world's strongest divine beast, Tamer. The boy's resolve hardens despite the threat. The skeletal lord retreats into shadows, questioning if the struggle is exactly what the boy desires. The boy, battered and bleeding, reaches out desperately for his sword as it falls through the air. He questions if the battle has finally ended, his voice filled with both hope and uncertainty. The quiet morning surrounds a small wooden cabin nestled in the trees. Inside, the boy slowly wakes, blinking as he takes in the unfamiliar ceiling above him. He wonders if this is really his room. Still groggy and aching, a gentle voice calls out, announcing their entrance with concern. The boy startles as a tearful girl rushes in, clutching a bowl, overwhelmed with relief that he has finally awakened. She embraces him tightly, confessing how scared she was for his safety. Others enter behind her, one scolding the noisy girl while the boy tries to calm the situation. The group explains how they found him covered in blood and how Mara stayed by his side for 3 days and nights, nursing him back to health. The boy apologizes for causing worry, gratitude shining in his eyes as he thanks them all. Curiosity grows as he asks what exactly happened. The girls recount how they saw something vanish beside the boy when they rushed over to him. The boy pieces it together, realizing the name of the demon lord they faced. Desperado. The peaceful cabin is framed by the trees once more, the weight of recent events settling in as the boy contemplates the truth. The group discusses the revelation that the dungeon master was actually a demon lord, and that there are 7 demon lords in total. The boy admits it was only at the last moment that the master managed to turn the tables. A girl playfully pulls him closer, praising him as expected. A tall woman gently scolds the boy for being reckless, while a smaller girl cries out dramatically that she's going to say goodbye for Rayal. Both girls blush as the boy looks on, caught between amusement and concern. The boy and the tall woman talk quietly about the meal being ready, with the boy deciding to prepare everything himself. The two girls exchange smiles, and suddenly the boy is startled by a huge pile of treasure and weapons that has appeared in the room. The girl explains that most dungeons hide treasures like this, which they had to retrieve from deep within the dungeon. She hands the boy a small ring, which he examines with surprise and curiosity. The boy is handed a small ring and urged to try it on, his eyes widening in surprise as he slips it onto his finger. The girl cheerfully explains it's a magic tool, but the tall woman watches them with a curious expression. The tall woman reveals she came because she suddenly couldn't sense the collar, while the boy learns the ring erases its owner's presence and can block some skills and magic. His shock deepens as he realizes the ring's true power. Excitement lights the boy's face as he imagines visiting a human village or even a big city with the treasure they have. Yet, he admits their self-sufficient lifestyle is lacking in some ways, hinting at new ideas forming in his mind. The boy's smile fades as he learns the ring's power lasts only 5 days, limited by the collar's immense strength. A cheerful girl insists they can handle shopping once they reach the village, urging him to come along, while he reflects on how he expected to spend his life in the mountains, but now sees a rare chance opening before him. The boy agrees enthusiastically, ready to enjoy both traveling and shopping with the girls. A quiet moment passes as he reflects that once his strength returns, a new journey will begin. Riding atop the dragons, the group takes off into the sky. The girl reassures him she's using her power to shield him from the wind, while he nervously insists he's fine. They tease him about not being able to fly, and the girl warns him not to get wet. The boy marvels at their incredible speed, feeling the breeze thanks to the dragon's protection. He draws his sword, wondering if this is the world the dragon sees, his excitement growing as they soar. Watching the dragons fly, he imagines himself a legendary dragon rider, a dream shared by many boys. He realizes meeting dragons requires being a caller, and recalls that most dragon riders were callers too, as the group continues their flight into the distance. The dragons soar high above the forest, their riders gripping tightly as the wind rushes past. Suddenly, the girl points down, alarmed by enormous footprints pressed into the earth below. The group leans closer, stunned by the sheer size of the tracks. Oni-chan peers intently, realizing something massive has recently passed through this area. The dragons soar above the forest, their riders scanning the ground below. A sudden alarm arises as enormous footprints appear, shocking the group with their massive size. Oni-chan peers closely, realizing something colossal has passed here recently. The riders speculate the footprints might belong to one of the legendary 4 great divine beasts, their fame echoing in the air. They acknowledge the story of a monstrous creature known as a walking disaster, but the path thereon likely won't cross it. Suddenly, a cheerful black cat-like creature appears, urging them to move on and heed the old warning about letting sleeping dogs lie. Oni-chan explains he brought the cat along out of concern for its safety, noting it seems to have been cast out of the dungeon. The tall figure riding beside him recalls that monsters vanish when a dungeon is conquered, but wonders if the cat's bond with Oni-chan is keeping it from disappearing. The cat happily responds as the dragons continue their flight. The group flies toward a grand castle rising above the trees, the sprawling fortress marking their next destination. The journey presses onward, the dragons cutting through the sky with purpose as the castle grows nearer. Oni-chan gasps in awe, clutching the black cat tightly as he realizes they have truly arrived in the royal capital. The majestic castle towers above them, its spires piercing the sky. A graceful woman advises moving further away to avoid causing a commotion in the city. The group pauses in a forested area overlooking the sprawling city. The young man, still holding the cat, wonders if such a large city can be safe. The women reassure him, reminding everyone that the city is now in sight. He smiles, excited despite the overwhelming scale. They stand before a massive stone gate, dwarfed by its imposing size. One woman marvels at the construction, suggesting it reflects the labor of the city's people. Another urges Oni-chan to stop staring and keep moving, though he hesitates, mesmerized by the grandeur. The bustling city streets teem with people and towering buildings. A cheerful girl points out the crowd and suggests they stick together to avoid getting lost. The young man listens attentively as she prepares to announce their first destination within the vibrant royal capital. A large pile of coins spills out, dazzling in the light. The group stands together, overwhelmed by the sheer amount of money. They realize this is only a small fraction of the total treasure. Pondering if it will cover all their shopping needs, plans are made to first buy everything necessary. with encouragement to ask for anything desired. Inside a shop filled with shelves and goods, the group explores their options. Two girls enjoy tasting treats, while another browses books with curiosity. The young man and a woman examine items thoughtfully. Surprised, one girl remarks on the unexpected choice of books by Loa, while another marvels at the abundance of delicious food in the capital. The girl with long hair excitedly holds several books, expressing a wish to read something easier and learn the human alphabet since she will live with Oni-chan. The group laughs warmly at her enthusiasm. They agree to find an inn before nightfall, and the young man points confidently toward their next destination. Walking through the bustling city streets, the group moves forward together. A fox-eared girl pauses, sensing something just moments ago, her expression turning serious as she looks back over her shoulder. The young man relaxes on a bench outside a grand building under a crescent moon, savoring a drink and sighing with relief. He recalls hearing about the public baths from a local innkeeper and decided to visit to soothe his exhaustion after a long day. Despite feeling socially anxious, he is encouraged by a cheerful fox-eared girl to enter the baths together. Suddenly, he senses footsteps nearby, though no one is visible, and tightens his grip on his drink, alert to a possible presence. A graceful woman with fox ears approaches, apologizing for startling him and assuring she means no harm. She bristles when he lumps her together with wild children, asserting her dignity with a sharp retort. The woman reveals herself as Kuzunoha, a majestic nine-tailed fox who travels through eternity. The young man is stunned, realizing this legendary divine beast has lived for thousands of years according to old tales. The young man asks if she is a divine beast, noting her skill at hiding it. The nine-tailed fox woman smiles confidently, explaining that recognizing her means he is strong and has survived encounters with divine beasts before. She reveals she sought him out because she needed to speak with him. She suddenly bows and asks if he would accompany her, confessing she needs a tea-drinking companion. He reacts with surprise but listens as she extends the invitation. They enter a cozy, human-like home under the moonlight. He marvels at how normal it feels, and she explains she chose to live as a normal human here, so honorifics aren't necessary. She offers to make tea while he settles in. The woman explains she arrived decades ago, finding it convenient to stay. She claims to be closer to immortality than a phoenix and decided a long vacation was a good idea. The young man recalls the city of Aruma in the land of humans, realizing there was something important he had forgotten. The nine-tailed fox laments how she has hardly made any friends to open up to, despite having lived for decades. The young man reacts with a light-hearted smile, acknowledging how serious that sounds. Tea is poured carefully into a cup, steam rising gently. She explains the tea is an oriental green tea, carrying the unforgettable taste of her hometown, and urges him to drink it before it cools. He nervously admits it won't be very interesting, but he wants to know more about her. She encourages him to talk all he wants, invoking her name as Kuzunoha, the divine fox of the heavens, granting permission to share. The young man contemplates quietly, the room peaceful as night falls outside the window. She observes that he has been carrying a heavy burden, but the reason he is still alive is because others lent him their strength. She admits she once only saw strength in his eyes, but now notices his emotions too, suggesting he must have been hard to approach before. He tries to respond but hesitates, caught off guard by her insight. Suddenly, a group bursts in, calling out to him as Oni-chan, and assuring the caller that everything is okay. One demands to know where the enemy is, while the young man looks surprised but relieved, realizing the three divine beasts had been searching for him all along. The girl scolds the young man for nearly causing a panic by making it hard to find him due to the ring. He apologizes as others laugh and enjoy their food and tea nearby. Another woman suggests leaving the worry behind since the caller is safe and they reunited. The girl reflects happily that the misunderstanding is cleared, praising Kuzunoha's tea and sweets. The group sits around a table discussing how surprising it is that a human lives alongside three divine beasts. They compare this to the original caller's era and the subjugation of a demon lord, calling it like a second coming. The young man asks if the first caller also lived with divine beasts, and the girl explains she heard about it from her master. Suddenly, the girl exclaims in surprise at the revelation that the master acted with the first caller and that there were often 5 to 10 divine beasts together. A majestic silver dragon appears, prompting speculation that it might be Kuzunoha's master. The young man wonders if the dragon is famous, and the girls explain the master couldn't be the celestial silver dragon but that the dragon is a big celebrity among divine beasts. One woman questions if it's appropriate for the head of the oriental divine beasts to be drinking tea in a foreign land. The teacup is set down as the conversation continues. The girl nervously admits her master is strict, so she ran away while doing business, denying any other reason. She quickly corrects herself, refusing to accept the implication. Then she shyly suggests taking the young man somewhere and asks if they could meet again tomorrow. He agrees, curious about the destination. The scene ends with a peaceful night outside the house, promising an enjoyable outing. The young man and the nine-tailed fox enter a magic shop filled with various mystical items displayed behind glass. The fox calls out to the shopkeeper, asking if they are still alive and well. The young man looks around in awe, realizing this place is a magic shop, while two women nearby confirm its authenticity. A tall clock looms as the girl with the flower in her hair speaks seriously, revealing she was listening to their conversation the day before and insists the young man should carry certain items with him. Suddenly startled, the girl reacts as the cloaked figure appears, warning her not to tease him just because he's free, while she insists she's just shopping for things today. The fox girl declares her intention to buy the young man a grimoire, urging him to choose something good. He questions the need for a grimoire, recalling they are meant to strengthen sorcery skills. The fox girl teases him about not wanting to waste money on a fake, prompting a sharp retort. The young man wonders if he really needs one. The fox explains that despite his poor magic skills, he can harness some of the divine beast's immense magical power, implying he must have a natural talent for magic. She adds that he unconsciously emits a voice of the heart that reaches divine beasts, powered by the magic in the atmosphere. Though only faintly, the young man is left surprised and contemplative. The fox girl explains that with a genuine grimoire, the young man should be able to use magic immediately, surprising him. She adds that she heard this from her master and is confident it's true, while he admits it's the first he's heard of it. She clarifies that a grimoire isn't just a book. A fake one is worthless, but the real deal is a magic tool. The fox girl scolds the late shopkeeper for taking so long, explaining that expensive magic books are stored in the back and hard to retrieve. The shopkeeper presents the only grimoire in the store and offers the young man a chance to inspect it. The fox girl insists the gift is for her tea-drinking friend, refusing to give him anything worthless, teasing him about being moody. The fox girl insists on a second look at the grimoires, ignoring the young man's plea for peace between them. She points to one that looks promising. The young man notes he expected a grimoire to be thicker, but she explains that some are small, designed to eliminate redundant lessons and include only essential information. She hands the grimoire to the young man, explaining its size suits those unfamiliar with magic. He is shocked as he receives it, his eyes widening in surprise and wonder. The young man notices a faint blue glow emanating from his hand and wonders if it's magic. The fox girl explains it's proof of his affinity with the grimoire, but warns its powers have gone dormant from disuse. She suggests adjusting it carefully, focusing her energy as the grimoire begins to shimmer and pulse with light. Meanwhile, the shopkeeper and the young man watch nervously as the fox girl works. The shopkeeper worried about the merchandise being affected. The tension rises as the fox girl pours more power into the grimoire. Despite the young man's protests and the concerned glances of an elegant woman nearby, the fox girl insists that without this much power, the grimoire won't awaken, refusing to back down even as others urge caution. The elegant woman pleads for her to stop, but the fox girl confidently claims she can handle the grimoire's power non-stop. Suddenly, a burst of energy explodes from the grimoire, forcing everyone to shield themselves. The young man shields his eyes in shock, stunned by the unexpected surge of magic unleashed by the fox girl's reckless determination. The group halts in the forest, tension rising as the young man anxiously wonders if the approaching presence is a monster. The woman denies it, reminding him that Lois stays close by. His determination to fetch water clashes with the looming threat. A massive, menacing man-eating troll appears, gripping a huge club and declaring he won't allow the water to be ruined. The young man recognizes the danger immediately, alarmed by the troll's sudden arrival in the wilderness. The woman named Fianna launches herself at the troll with fierce resolve, shouting she won't let it harm their master. Her swift attack catches the troll off guard, swirling leaves and energy around her as she strikes. The troll lunges aggressively, but the young man worries if Fianna's soaked state will weaken her. Despite his doubts, she braces for the next clash, determined to protect everyone as the troll swings its massive arm toward her. The phoenix spreads its wings wide, feathers swirling fiercely as it declares it's time to get serious. The young man braces himself, gripping his weapon tightly, while the troll's eyes widen in alarm. The phoenix lunges forward with a powerful strike, soaring above the ground as it unleashes a barrage of fiery feathers. The troll stumbles back, trying to shield itself from the onslaught. Flaming feathers streak through the air like blazing comets, racing toward the trolls with relentless speed. The largest troll roars defiantly, flames licking its skin as it prepares to endure the assault. The trolls are engulfed in flames in an instant, their bodies burning fiercely. The woman and the young man exchange grateful looks, acknowledging each other's efforts. The young man steels himself, knowing there is no time to relax as more danger approaches. The young man clenches his teeth, urging everyone to escape as demons attack repeatedly. Despite the chaos, they manage to secure food and water, finally reaching home. He reflects on the recurring disasters that strike whenever they travel, realizing they must confront the demons to restore order. A determined girl with horns declares her intent to eliminate all nearby demons. The young man questions her ability, and she admits complete eradication is impossible but believes she can handle some. They discuss her plan to assert dominance over the demons by flying near the mountain, prompting concern about her strategy. The young man learns that dragons establish lifelong territories, and the girl reasons that if dragons are to live independently someday, it's wise to claim the mountain now with his support. She insists they can devise alternative plans if needed, showing confidence in their approach. The girl happily proclaims the mountain perfect for her and announces she will live in the house there, naturally staking out the surrounding territory. The young man is taken aback by her resolve, realizing the true meaning behind her words as she winks confidently. The girl proudly declares she now has her own territory and demands to be treated like a grown-up, teasing the young man who awkwardly responds. They share a moment before the girl insists they calm down and eat, shifting to a cozy scene at a quaint house. As they enjoy the meal, the girl praises the cooking enthusiastically while the other girl looks surprised, questioning if humans always eat such food. The young man confirms and asks about their meals so far, receiving a cheerful reply of game meat. He then announces plans to create a field, sparking curiosity. The young man explains the field is for growing vegetables, which surprises the girl who questions his farming knowledge. He admits wanting to reduce risks and prefers farming over wild gathering, noting the convenience and taste of farm-grown vegetables. The house stands quietly as they discuss their plans. The young man shares his experience helping a friend with farming, earning praise for his kind nature. He worries about the water needed for the fields and daily life, wishing for waterways to ease the burden. The girl finds his ideas absurd, while he wonders if wells and canals could be built independently. The woman smiles warmly, assuring the young man that they have plenty of time ahead. She encourages him to live his life the way he wants. Little by little, with their support, the young man nods, a hopeful smile spreading across his face. A large dragon named Loa prepares to chase demons away, promising protection. The young man cheerfully suggests plowing the fields together, but the woman calls out to stop him, surprised. The woman conjures a swirling energy around her sword, warning of the dangers ahead in the mountains. She hands the sword to the young man, urging him to take it for protection. The young man catches the sword, astonished by its lightness and power. The woman explains it's a sword made with her magic, able to move like a flying blade. He beams, confident it will help him greatly. The young man admits he feels useless, always needing help and doubting if he deserves to be with them. The girl counters, recalling how he risked himself to save her from trolls, insisting that alone is reason enough to serve him. Suddenly, the dragon Loa appears, startling them both. The young man leaps protectively in front of the girl, sword drawn. While Loa explains he sensed danger and returned to find them, they call out to Loa, urging him to be fair and to help Vienna. Riding on Loa's back, the young man reflects on how without the girl and Loa, he'd be nothing but a burden. Determined, he vows to become more useful to both of them. The next morning, he stretches and plans to prepare dinner before they wake. Approaching a well, the young man stops, surprised. He stares at the well, puzzled but intrigued, wondering what it means to have a well here. A sudden burst of energy erupts as the group reacts in shock. The young man grasps a book, realizing it is the grimoire of Kuzunoha. The white nine-tailed fox girl is caught off guard, shielding herself from the blast. A towering beam of light shoots into the sky, illuminating the town. The fox girl wipes her brow, admitting she pushed herself too hard this time. The young man looks on, startled by the overwhelming power unleashed. The grimoire falls to the ground as the young man and the fox girl step outside. A skeletal figure angrily demands to know what Kuzunoha is doing, warning of the danger to the store. The fox girl calmly explains the excess magic has stabilized, and the grimoire will now show its true power, handing it back to the young man. The young man stares in amazement at the glowing grimoire, feeling knowledge of magic pouring into him like touching a divine weapon. He confirms the grimoire is working perfectly, while the fox girl watches quietly, her expression unreadable. The young man and the nine-tailed fox stand in a room filled with shelves and bottles as she explains that without the magician skill, powerful magic can't be used, but divine beasts can compensate. She winks, saying it's better to have more hands to use. She adds that even if magic is understood mentally, practicing it is necessary, especially to make life easier in the mountains. The fox points out that the authority of divine beasts is too much for humans, reminding him he likely collapsed after defeating the demon lord. The young man recalls struggling to control Fianna's sword to start a fire. Exhausted from trying repeatedly, he looks at the grimoire in his hand, grateful for Kuzunoha's help. Both smile warmly, the young man expressing how his life has become easier thanks to her, while she says thanks aren't needed and enjoyed their all-night talk. Suddenly, the skeletal figure demands payment for the grimoire, but the young man insists he'll pay. The fox protests, but he insists, explaining he feels responsible for using it. The young man confidently holds up a bag of money, declaring he'll cover the cost, much to the delight of the fox and the skeletal figure. The fox happily says she'll go out for lunch, while the skeletal figure urges him to buy more. The scene closes with a peaceful town street and a shopkeeper thanking them for their purchase. The group strolls through the bustling royal capital. The young man asked if they've seen any famous places yet. One woman admits she hasn't, having been busy shopping, while another insists the city's view alone is refreshing. A lively girl insists the sun is still high, urging them to explore the grand structures and famous restaurants in the city center. The energetic girl offers to show them around, eager to spend more time with her friend. Excited voices chime in, wanting to visit bookstores and try delicious food, while another expresses a desire to expand her knowledge. The young man agrees to the favor, smiling warmly. They arrive at the heart of the royal capital, marveling at the grand architecture and clock tower. The fox explains that wealthy merchants live in large mansions nearby, noting humans tend to desire bigger homes as they earn more. The group observes the busy cleaning and upkeep, reflecting on the effort involved. Discussion turns to the cost of maintaining such estates, with one noting the rich hire servants to handle cleaning. Another laments that the world won't improve unless the wealthy spend their money. A woman sighs over the complexity of accounting for large sums, calling humans a pain. The young man jokes about leaving shopping to one of the women next time, who promises to do her best, while another checks on her with concern. One woman worries that the short chibi dragon might get pickpocketed, while another confidently claims she's learned how to spend money and will go shopping instead of Fianna. The tension between the two escalates, drawing a dark, fiery aura as others watch nervously. A fox-eared girl panics, fearing a fight between the dragon and the immortal crow could devastate the royal capital. The fox-eared girl screams in disbelief when told this scene happens every day, while the young man and a woman laugh it off, insisting there's no such disaster. The group debates if the frontier was a demonic region or hell, with the fox-eared girl shocked by their casual dismissal. Two women sternly scold the pair, causing the fuss, while the young man tries to calm the worried girl. A woman asks the group to drop the argument, reminding them that others, including Kuzunoha, were startled by the commotion. The fox-eared girl is stunned that anyone could silence dragons and immortal crows with mere words, questioning if the young man is truly the most terrifying. The young man then suggests moving on to a more important sightseeing spot, prompting the group to follow his lead. The young man and the fox-eared girl gaze up in awe at a towering structure, marveling at its immense height. "The tower?" he asks, while she exclaims how tall it is. They approach a bustling crowd gathered around the base of the tower. The fox-eared girl explains it is the pillar of the divine beasts, where fairy tales about these creatures are displayed. She urges him to hurry as others gather, promising the inside holds even more beautiful art created by masters. Inside, the young man looks up in wonder at a grand spiral staircase adorned with intricate murals depicting divine beasts and legendary figures. He realizes the entire tower tells a story, with the origins of these legends carved into its walls. As they ascend, the fox-eared girl shares that while the tower is said to be a fairy tale, it is mostly true and was created to preserve the achievements of the first-generation caller for future generations. The young man laughs, calling it free time, while she notes the effort it took to complete and how difficult it is to make fun of stories passed down since ancient times. She points ahead excitedly as they continue upward. The group reaches the top of the tower, excitement bubbling as one declares they've arrived. Kuzunoha stands before a massive, ominous orb, prompting a question about its nature. The young man reacts with shock as she reveals it is the eye of a certain demon lord, an evil eye. Kuzunoha explains the eye was the last enemy the first-generation caller defeated and purified, and with strong power, it can reveal glimpses of the future. She assures no unpleasant signs remain, but the group wonders if it truly can see the future. The young man compares it to a fortune-teller's crystal, while Kuzunoha notes the eye has been here a long time. She shifts the conversation, saying there are other places in the tower to show them. Suddenly, she senses the evil eye was briefly covered in mist, causing the young man to ask if something is wrong. The girl ponders the mist, but concludes it was just her imagination. The young man feels nothing seems changed but remains uncertain. Another voice warns her not to lag behind, prompting her to dash off. Apologizing for leaving him behind, He smiles nervously, wondering if the mist covering the evil eye was real or just his nerves playing tricks on him. A voice calls out, asking if she is still at the top. She quickly replies that she's going now, dashing off with urgency. The ominous evil eye looms large, its surface swirling with creeping mist that seems to darken the room. The young man laughs, calling the experience amusing as he looks up at the tower. Kuzunoha smiles beside him, happy he could witness the story of the first caller in such a place. Suddenly, voices shout about being hungry, and the group eagerly asks where to go next. The bustling city streets fill with people as the group walks forward. The young man and a woman hear the ringing of bells echoing through the air, causing them to pause in confusion. Kuzunoha explains the bells are an alert sound, prompting the young man to ask a guard what is happening. The guard urgently warns of a super large monster, a continental beast behemoth, approaching near the royal capital. Shock spreads as the group realizes it might be one of the 4 great imperial beasts. The young man recalls the massive footprints they saw upon arrival and wonders if they belong to the behemoth. The group discusses the possibility that the beast was heading away from the capital, but then turned back. Kuzunoha suddenly sweats nervously, prompting concern from the others as they ask what is wrong. Kuzunoha hesitates, then admits the grimoire from earlier almost exploded due to a mistake in her adjustment. The young man recalls the pillar of light and wonders if that's what she means. That light had a super-dense magical power equivalent to 4 divine beasts. Though imperfect, he realizes giant monsters like behemoth eat things with strong magical power to increase their own strength. The young man asks if the behemoth mistook the grimoire's light for food and headed toward the royal capital. Kuzunoha apologizes, feeling responsible, but the young man insists it's not just her fault. He says if this happened because she worked hard for him, then he is also the cause. He smiles warmly and reminds her they are tea-drinking friends. The young man suggests that friends should share burdens and proposes they do something about behemoth together. Kuzunoha is touched, covering her mouth in surprise. He warns it would be a problem if they forgot about their other friends. She beams happily as he praises having her as the caller who defeated the demon lord, which puts his heart at ease. The group of women steps forward, declaring they are not unrelated to the grimoire issue and will lend their strength. Kuzunoha, moved to tears, covers her face. The young man smiles nervously and asks what their plan is. One woman confidently states that with their members, they can aim not only to defend but to defeat behemoth. The young man vows to make behemoth regret coming near the royal capital where he and his tea-drinking friend reside. Kuzunoha confidently announces she has a plan. Raising a finger with determination, she explains that behemoth isn't foolish and warns that if they all stay in one place, their magic could be detected, leading to a preemptive attack. She suggests splitting into 2 groups to avoid this risk. The young man listens intently as she says she, Mara, and Fianna will prepare a plan, while he and Loa will take action during that time. The young man mounts Loa, the majestic winged dragon, ready to take flight. He urges Loa forward, though he admits their goal is only to buy time. From above, the dragon soars over the forest canopy, the young man scanning the horizon. A voice calls out to him, urging him to be careful. The massive behemoth looms ominously on the ground, its skull-like face and spiked armor exuding menace. Above, Loa flies, a small but determined presence against the towering threat below. The young man marvels at the massive size of the enemy while calling out to his companion. He urges the dragon, Loa, to use its breath attack, and the dragon responds confidently, unleashing a powerful beam. The beam strikes the behemoth, causing a massive explosion against its armored back. The young man anxiously asks how effective the attack was. Noticing the dragon seems to have stopped moving, Loa is urged to lie down for safety, confused by the command. Loa suddenly launches into the air with great force, surprising the young man. The behemoth's armor glows with a bundle of magical power, and the young man realizes the creature has rocks inside it that could bring him down if hit. The young man observes that his dragon's breath attack is completely ineffective. As the barrage of magic bullets continues relentlessly, the behemoth remains unpierced, and he understands their attacks are limited in stopping the enemy's advance. The young man tells Loa he will jump down to attack directly and urges the dragon to get as close as possible. The others warn him that if the behemoth hits him, it will be disastrous. He insists the only way to change the fight is to destroy the part emitting the magic bullets and plans to approach unnoticed, relying on his weak magic and agility. Loa groans but agrees, asking the young man to promise to return safely. The young man assures him and commands Loa to take the lead. The dragon prepares to charge, eyes fixed on the target. The dragon bursts forward with the young man on its back. Shouting to go, the armored behemoth braces itself, readying for the incoming assault. Racing at full speed, the young man braces himself as they near the enemy. He knows this moment is the turning point in the battle. sweat dripping as he prepares to leap into action. The young man clenches his fists, shouting to push through with courage as he leaps toward the behemoth. Dodging the barrage of magic bullets flying past him, he braces himself midair, narrowly avoiding the deadly projectiles. Sprinting at full speed, he charges the armored behemoth, shouting to assess the inside despite the creature's tough exterior. He prepares to strike, eyes wide with determination. Chanting an incantation, he unleashes a fiery attack called Explosive Burn, igniting the ground beneath the behemoth. The explosion erupts violently, shaking the battlefield as the creature reels from the impact. The young man exclaims that the attack is working and resolves to target other weak points while the behemoth is vulnerable. Suddenly, the ground trembles as the massive creature retaliates, forcing him to dodge falling debris in shock. The ground shatters violently as a massive impact sends debris flying. The young man calls out urgently to his summoned beast, Loa, who swoops down to his side, grateful. He acknowledges Loa's timely rescue, relieved to be saved from danger. Loa warns that preparations are complete and insists that Mera and Kuzunoha must stay back for their safety. Suddenly, two majestic creatures clash fiercely in midair, their battle far from over. The young man's eyes widen in shock as he realizes the enemy can still launch attacks. Under the full moon, the young man watches as Loa and the phoenix soar over a shimmering lake, a dark, ominous dragon silhouette appearing in the distance. His heart pounds with unease as he questions the nature of this new threat. The young man spots a dark, ominous dragon flying against the moonlit sky, a chill running down his spine. He senses a deeply unsettling presence from the creature far behind. His eyes narrowing with concern, below, the dragon and rider observe a sprawling forest dotted with countless glowing red lights, stirring unease as he wonders what those dots could be. His gaze shifts to a gathering of monstrous beings, each with glowing eyes that pierce the darkness. The young man realizes these are all monster eyes, questioning if this is a side effect of his summoning skill. The sheer number of eyes is staggering, hundreds, maybe thousands, filling the forest with an eerie watchfulness. The dragon and rider exchange urgent thoughts, noting the young man had been wearing a ring moments ago but no longer. The rider's attention sharpens on a strange figure lurking at the back of the monstrous crowd. The creature's features become clear. Wings with forelimbs, a long serpentine body, and a sharp beak. Recognition dawns. Without a doubt, it is the legendary being they feared. The full form of the creature is revealed. The sky serpent beast Quetzalcoatl, one of the four great imperial beasts. Its majestic, serpentine body coils through the night sky, marking a new and formidable threat in the unfolding battle. The sky serpent beast Quetzalcoatl roars fiercely, spreading its wings wide as it launches into the air, its presence commanding immediate attention. The monstrous crowd scatters in alarm, their cries piercing the night. The young man, riding his dragon, struggles to comprehend the overwhelming power before him, questioning the purpose behind the alliance of two of the four great imperial beasts and the massive horde of monsters. His mind races with the possibility that they seek the remains of Behemoth. A sudden realization strikes him. If Behemoth breaks through the rampart, the invaders could flood into the royal capital unchecked, threatening the city, its shops, and even Kuzunoha's home. The looming threat grows more urgent as the castle gates stand vulnerable. Determined, the young man commands his dragon to strike, launching a powerful spear attack to halt the advancing forces. The impact sends monsters flying, but the enemy's eyes burn with fierce resolve, signaling the battle is far from over. The young man spots the overwhelming number of enemies and urgently warns, realizing even two divine beasts can't handle this many. Suddenly, a massive armored beast lunges forward, catching everyone off guard. Panic rises as Behemoth heads straight for the royal capital again, forcing a desperate call for action. The armored Behemoth crashes through the battlefield, but the young man shouts for Mera and Kuzunoha, revealing their plan to create a barrier. The massive creature is pushed back, seemingly subdued for now, though the threat still looms as the battle continues. The young man winces as a sudden, sharp cry pierces the air, startling him. His dragon lunges forward, spearing the strange bird-like creature with a fierce command to be silent. The bird reels from the direct hit, but the young man's hope fades as the creature remains unharmed. He questions if the attack was truly effective, but the beast's unyielding stance says otherwise. The young man commands his dragon to unleash a barrage of fiery projectiles, hoping to overwhelm the creature. The air fills with the rapid assault, but the bird dodges with unsettling ease. Frustration mounts as the young man realizes his attacks still fail to subdue the creature. His dragon roars in confusion and desperation, while the young man struggles to understand the meaning behind the bird's resilience. The young man realizes the bird's fur might spread magical power, nullifying high-density pure magic techniques like Loa's breath. He gasps in shock as the wind around the bird intensifies, making it impossible to get close or land attacks. Suddenly, a blazing figure bursts forward, and the young man calls out in alarm, recognizing Fianna's fiery assault aimed at the bird. The dragon watches anxiously, questioning if the attack is working. While the bird recoils from the flames, the young man and his dragon exchange glances, sensing the battle might be turning in their favor. The bird explains its weakness to magic side effects like fire and lightning, prompting the young man to command his dragon to strike again. The dragon lunges with a powerful attack, and the young man braces himself, surprised by the sudden shift in momentum. The nine-tailed fox flares her tails wildly, creating a fierce windstorm that lashes out in all directions. The young man winces, wounded by the sudden gust, and wonders why the wind has intensified so much. His dragon struggles to keep control, running wildly to extinguish the flames. He reflects on the overwhelming power they face, comparing the ground fortress Behemoth to the sky fortress Quetzalcoatl, dodging attacks. He admits their efforts barely keep them alive against this monstrous foe. Doubt creeps in as he questions if victory is even possible against such a force. The young man clenches his fist, steeling himself despite the pain and uncertainty. His dragon encourages him, reminding him of magic that can create objects. A spark of hope ignites as he commands to make a bow out of magic, surprising even himself. He promises to explain more later while his dragon prepares to buy time. Fianna launches a desperate fiery assault, but the young man knows her speed alone won't be enough. He grips his sword tightly, frustration mounting as he watches everyone struggle without giving up. Holding a mysterious book, he questions why he feels so weak despite their combined efforts. The young man flips through the grimoire, determined to find a way to help. He resolves to trust his friends and calls out the spell, Material Realization, Virtual Matter Manifestation, as magical circles swirl around him. A glowing, swirling mass forms above the book, astonishing him with how easily the magic activates despite it being his first time. He senses Kuzunoha's power within the grimoire and acknowledges how the dagger from Loa shares the same energy. A quiet smile crosses his face as he silently thanks the source of this power. A perfectly formed wooden bow materializes before him, and he breathes a relieved, "I made it." While still uncertain, he wonders if he can do more with this newfound magic as he sits atop his dragon, holding the bow and arrow ready for what comes next. The group stands before a massive hydra, its many heads looming over them. The woman explains the hydra mistook the young man and Loa for enemies and attacked, lamenting the hydra's troublesome nature. She wonders why the hydra would risk such consequences by attacking other divine beasts, while the young man recalls hearing about hydras invading territories. The woman reflects that hydras become adults by defeating other divine beasts, suggesting the attacked hydra had no choice. The young man asks what they will do with the hydra, and the woman notes how even divine beasts have it tough. Suddenly, she calls out to Loa, who is lying on the ground, startling the young man. Loa, the smaller dragon, wakes confused and asks why she is lying there. The woman smiles mischievously and reveals she defeated the hydra. The hydra reacts in shock, questioning if she is the master of the mountain. The woman declares the battle decided and demands the hydra leave the territory. The hydra protests, claiming her defeat was due to a surprise attack and that a fair fight would be different. She strikes the smaller dragon hard, but the woman intervenes, telling the hydra to stop. The young man watches tensely as the confrontation unfolds. The woman admits that any more rampaging would cause trouble and persuasion seems difficult. The young man agrees, suggesting they dump the defeated hydra in a nearby river instead. The dragon remarks on her mercilessness as she flies away, ending the encounter. For now, the scene shifts to a quiet cabin in the woods, signaling a pause in the action. Suddenly, a determined girl bursts in, shouting for her master and begging to be made his disciple. The young man stands frozen in surprise, wondering if she went crazy after he accidentally hit her head. The girl insists that once a hydra is defeated, it must aim to become stronger than its opponent. Explaining this as their custom, she argues that the fact 3 divine beasts obey him means he is the most skilled. She vows that becoming his disciple will make her stronger than even the dragon. The young man laughs nervously, warning her she'll get scolded for such simplistic thinking. He modestly tells her she's overestimating him and suggests she ask Loa or someone else instead. The girl admits that becoming a disciple of someone she lost to would disgrace the hydras and cause ridicule from her kin, even if the defeat was a surprise attack. He confesses he doesn't know how to train divine beasts and wonders what he's supposed to teach her. The young man reflects that Mara is out, and Fianna is too lazy, leaving him uncertain about how to proceed. The young man hesitates, caught off guard by her boldness. She beams with determination. insisting practical training is the way forward despite his warnings about recklessness. He worries she'll leave if she realizes he's just human, not a divine beast. She agrees to become his disciple but sets firm conditions. Only 1 week together due to her farm duties, no poison use on the mountain, and absolutely no touching the 3 divine beasts. He recalls a tale of a hydra's poison contaminating a lake for decades and insists the poison ban is non-negotiable. He breathes a sigh of relief and accepts her terms. She eagerly asks to start training immediately, unwilling to waste any time. He agrees but suggests they train away from the house. The narration concludes that this marks the beginning of his training with Ono. The young man trains deep in the forest at the divine beast Hydra's request, facing her fierce attacks head-on. The earth trembles beneath their battle as he wields his sword with determination. He reflects that Ono mistakes him for a divine beast because of his weapon's power, which allows him to fight despite lacking much combat experience. The Hydra admits surprise at his skill, unable to land a single hit, while he notes he may have fired her up more than expected. The young man dodges a sudden strike, narrowly avoiding a powerful tail swipe from the Hydra. The clash intensifies as he leaps through the air, the tension mounting with every move. Apologizing for his fierce attack, he explains he aimed for the Hydra's armored part, believing it would be safe. The Hydra acknowledges the blow was no holding back but insists that such challenges are worth learning from. Their training continues daily from dawn to dusk, though a sudden warning erupts, something is coming out, and the poison begins to take effect. Exhaustion weighs heavily on him as he struggles to keep up, questioning the incredible stamina of the girl. She bursts with energy, eagerly demanding to eat now, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. The table is laden with a feast, shining under the sunlight. He watches her with a mix of admiration and relief, noting how fascinating it is that simple food can become so nourishing and delicious with effort. The girl looks touched as he admits the meal was worth the effort just for her. Despite her fatigue, she hides her feelings, denying anything is wrong when he asks. His thoughts wander to whether extra effort and training could make him stronger, reflecting on how everything seems connected. The girl's relentless attacks continue, cutting through his defenses, leaving him puzzled. He explains his strategy. Avoiding direct hits by running away first, then striking when the moment is right since a single hit could end him. He asks what she thinks about during battle, and she confidently reveals her focus is on defeating her opponent gracefully, counterattacking without being flanked. He suggests adopting a fighting style that relies less on brute force, focusing instead on limiting attacks and practicing dodges. She questions if that approach isn't boring, doubting flashy techniques alone can defeat Loa. He asks what she wants to do after getting stronger, and she reveals her goal is to be recognized as a full-fledged Hydra. He explains that understanding her reason for wanting strength will help him give better advice. He shares his own motivation. Protecting those important to him, he encourages her to find direction by thinking about what she wants to protect, emphasizing perseverance even if the path is tough or boring. She hesitates, admitting she's simply focused on getting stronger without any other purpose or concern for others. Suddenly, the peaceful moment breaks as a large, imposing 9-tailed fox and its smaller companions appear, startling him. The sudden appearance of a monstrous pack alarms them, and the tamer realizes they are within Loa's territory. Though far on the edge, he calls out to Ono, signaling that their break time is over, and she responds with determination. The serpent-like dragon coils, ready to leap into battle, while the tamer warns her against using poison. The pack of beasts charges fiercely toward them, led by a large lion-like creature. The dragon and the tamer prepare to confront the oncoming threat, noting the frantic movement of the enemies. The tamer swings his sword, striking down several foes with precision, acknowledging that their attacks connect because the dragon moves slower than Loa. Around them lie numerous fallen enemies, but the tamer senses something is wrong. The dragon expresses confusion as the number of enemies does not decrease despite their efforts. The tamer admits his reliance on power and poison has made him weak without them, swinging aimlessly. He fears he will never defeat the dragon they face at this rate, while Kuzunoha stands alert beside him, ready to fight. Kuzunoha lunges fiercely, shattering tables and sending dishes flying as the tamer stumbles back in surprise. The chaos halts briefly as the tamer questions the sudden change, while the dragon asserts that Ono will not allow this, declaring it was made for him. The dragon hurls massive chunks of debris with furious force, roaring in defense of the tamer's ruined meal. The destruction scatters across the area, emphasizing the dragon's fierce protectiveness. The beasts suddenly collapse, stunned and defeated, leaving the tamer amazed at the sudden turn of events. The dragon looks on, equally surprised by the swift outcome. The dragon expresses gratitude for the tamer's effort in preparing the meal despite his busy schedule, feeling the master's emotions were also hurt when it was ruined. The tamer promises to bring more food tomorrow, while the dragon smiles, happy that Ono appreciated the gesture. The dragon reflects on its vague but growing understanding of what it must do. Deciding to postpone its rematch until it becomes stronger, the young man encourages Ono, urging her to train with purpose rather than blindly, and 7 days pass quickly. Ono expresses gratitude to her master for the care and training during their short time together, humbly calling herself his disciple despite feeling master is too much. She hints at returning to the mountain for another match, asking him to go easy on her. The dragon announces its departure, wishing Ono well and encouraging her to take care even after it leaves. The young man wishes her continued growth, and as the dragon fades away, he remembers something important. Ono presents a sparkling pendant as a thank you gift for the training. The young man waves goodbye, acknowledging the end of their week together. Later, a lively Ono demands more training time, while he struggles with fatigue from the intense sessions. The young man focuses intently, summoning a fiery magic circle as he shouts the spell name, determined to succeed. His flame flickers weakly and vanishes, frustration clear as he admits failure to maintain the spell. Yet he urges himself to try once more amid the forest. Thanks to Kuzunoha's grimoire, magic use has eased his life, but a problem remains. The grimoire glows softly as he reflects on his limited magical power without a proper skill. Exhausted after casting only a few spells, he acknowledges that struggle is normal for beginners but wishes to use magic effectively in emergencies, not just daily life. A graceful woman surrounded by mystical creatures advises him not to overdo training, warning that magical power equates to life force. Despite his worries about progress, she praises his skill, while a small figure echoes her concern for his well-being. Ono confidently urges him to start training immediately. Unwilling to waste any time with only a week left, he agrees, and their training begins away from the house under the open sky. Kuzunoha introduces herself as a nine-tailed fox, an ancient divine beast who has lived for thousands of years, astonishing him with her legendary status. The armored tamer confronts a shadowy figure, demanding why he continues to oppose him despite being the world's strongest divine beast. The figure, Desperado, reveals himself as a demon lord controlling a dungeon as one of the 7 pillars, shocking the young man. Desperado taunts him about a trade-off with the first caller, revealing there are 7 demon lords in total, leaving the young man stunned and overwhelmed. The young man hesitates, unsure about touching Kuzunoha, the nine-tailed fox. She encourages him to pet her, saying to think of it as being tricked by a fox. He nervously reaches out, surprised by the softness, while others tease him for being unexpectedly forward. He notices his fatigue has vanished and wonders if his magical power is returning. Kuzunoha explains she's been channeling her magical power into him through her tail. As divine beasts are masses of magical energy, Ono worries this might strain the summoner's body too much. A small figure insists the young man can handle intense training since he defeated the demon god. But he protests, wanting only human-level training. Reluctantly, she agrees and opens a grimoire to start. He casts a fire spell, but Kuzunoha scolds him for handling magic too roughly, comparing it to a young maiden with cotton candy. Frustrated, he demands clearer explanations, but Kuzunoha urges him to focus as his magical power disperses. She pushes him to pet her again. Insisting a man shouldn't fuss over small details, he reluctantly complies, and the fox's warmth envelopes him. The young man protests, calling her a demon, but she retorts that she's a fox. Without pause, his magic training begins under the open sky. Exhausted beyond memory, the young man collapses into Kuzunoha's embrace as she calls him Big Brother. Ono reflects quietly, regretting not stopping her sooner. The next morning, Kuzunoha praises his grit despite needing more training. While Ono silently watches, she apologizes for pushing him too hard. Admitting it was for his own good, he accepts, promising to take it easier and agrees Kuzunoha can assist him today. Surrounded by overflowing crates of fresh produce, Kuzunoha cheerfully announces the harvest is shorthanded. She laments her weakened physical strength in this form, feeling inferior to an average person and frustrated by her recent inactivity. The young man apologizes for the extra work, acknowledging her efforts in training him. Ono reassures him, saying she was just getting out of shape and that pushing limits can be beneficial. She is praised as a dragon, likened to an earth god nurturing crops, and reveals she was once worshipped as a land god who received offerings of fried tofu. Ono explains how their powers once seemed godlike to humans, bringing rain during droughts, heat in cool summers, and warnings of natural disasters. She notes that in the East, divine beasts often live in symbiosis with humans, receiving offerings in return for their help. The young man reflects on how hard it is to imagine such a relationship existing here. The woman asks Kuzunoha if she ever wants to return to her homeland or see her friends. Kuzunoha hesitates, admitting she once wanted to go back, but the thought of being scolded by her master is too frightening to agree. The woman declares that means Kuzunoha will never be able to return, and Kuzunoha quietly repeats the word indeed. The young man decides to put extra effort into preparing dinner as both an apology and a thank you since everyone worked hard on the harvest after his trouble the day before. Meanwhile, Ono relaxes with others in the hot spring, enjoying the moment as they unwind from their labor. The young man wonders what fried tofu tastes like and considers asking how to make it sometime. Suddenly, a shooting star appears in the night sky, moving in an unusual direction that surprises him. A massive explosion rocks the area, sending debris flying. The young man stumbles back, startled by the sudden blast. Ono, alarmed, calls out urgently, rushing to check on her brother. The group quickly gathers, concerned about the source of the disturbance. Ono warns her brother to avoid catching a cold as she urges him to hurry. The young man agrees to investigate, and the others decide to join him in checking out the nearby impact site. They arrive at a massive crater, the ground shattered and cracked from the force of the explosion. Ono shields her eyes, spotting something lying amidst the destruction. She questions if it could be a person, her worry deepening as they approach the scene. The young man realizes the strange falling star is actually a girl who has crashed into the crater, battered and unconscious from the fall. He struggles to believe the truth of her identity. The woman urges her brother to hurry, noticing the girl is still breathing, and insists they take her home quickly. Inside, the group gathers around the injured girl, but the woman senses something unusual about her condition. The woman explains that despite her healing powers, the girl's wounds are recovering unusually slowly, suggesting a curse might be at work. The others question what a curse means, and the young man listens intently as she describes curses as supernatural powers rivaling divine beasts, the original source of magic. The woman clarifies that magic is a more manageable form of these old curses, which are now nearly extinct. Suddenly, the girl lashes out violently, forcing the group to react defensively as they try to contain her unexpected attack. The young man notices a strange mist surrounding the girl and realizes it's weakening the flames meant to heal her, cutting their effect in half. Concern grows as they wonder if the girl will survive such a powerful curse. He asks urgently if there's anything more they can do, while the woman assesses that if left alone, the girl will be called to heaven within half a day. The woman prepares to confront the curse, leaping onto the bed with determination. She declares the high-level curse no problem for her, focusing intensely as the girl remains unconscious but stable. The young man and a small companion watch in awe, amazed by her confidence and skill. The woman contemplates the origin of the curse, questioning where a Pegasus could have acquired such a debilitating affliction. The young man and a girl exchange confused glances, denying any mention of a Pegasus. The small companion explains that a normal human falling from the sky wouldn't survive. But this girl is different. The young man is shocked to realize the girl was once a divine beast. The narration explains that Pegasi are horse divine beasts, akin to Kelpies, capable of flying high and long like dragons, and embodying silvery moonlight. The group wonders why the girl fell here. Learning the curse has been draining her power continuously, leaving her exhausted. The woman reflects on the severity of a curse that can afflict such a swift and powerful creature. The woman questions if such a curse, which usually requires a long time to cast, could even restrain a Pegasus. The fox-like figure agrees, noting that restraining a divine beast is normally impossible. The young man wonders if a divine beast could manage it, surprising the woman. The woman then expresses doubt, saying she has never heard of a divine beast that deals with curses. The young man contemplates that humans of this era likely couldn't perform such a feat either. His thoughts turn to the possibility that the demon god might be responsible. The group reacts with shock and alarm at the mention of the demon god.